Insurance agent Deborah Kreider is suing her former neighbor, telephone operator Gordon Barnes, for damages due to an assault. Gordon claims Deborah is a racist who tried to run over his wife.
All rise. This is case number 292 on the calendar in the matter of Kreider versus Barnes. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Ms. Kreider, you and the defendant used to be neighbors.
Yes.
You moved.
Yes.
According to what I read, on the day of your move, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you. You were suing him for that assault. Mr. Barnes says that he did not, in fact, assault you, and that you hit his wife with your car that day. So, how long were you neighbors before you moved?
Approximately 2.5 months.
But you had lived there for 3 years, and Mr. Barnes and his family moved into the complex where you lived?
Yes.
Okay. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Good. On what date did you move?
We started the move on the 2nd of March, and the 4th was when we were going to get the remaining things out, so...
Is that when this incident occurred, on March 4th?
I was taking boxes to my son.
So why don't you tell me what happened?
My son called to let me know that he was finished with the boxes he had, that he needed more boxes, so bring them up to the apartment. And I went up there, went inside, and I went into the kitchen to...
Of your apartment?
Of your
old apartment. Now, what floor did you live on?
It was a twin, side by side.
And the Barnes family lived in the other apartment?
Yes, on the other side.
I understand. So it's really...
Like a house,
like
only
a house.
Split in half.
Go ahead.
My son had asked permission for a few of his friends to be over while he was doing it because he was alone, and Brooks and I were at the house. And the children, the girls, two of the girls came out into the kitchen and said, Mrs. Kreider, there's someone at the door. So I walked out, and when I walked out there, Brooks was at the door, and Mr. Barnes was screaming at him. And I got out there and I said, look, we're moving out. Go back to your house and leave us alone, excuse my language. Just leave us alone. And he looked at me and he said, this isn't over, B. I know where you live. And he proceeded to describe my house. He said, you live in a greenhouse with white shutters. And I was just, I was taken back. I couldn't believe he was describing where I lived. And foolishly, I stepped outside my door and went to say, what the heck are you talking about? And I don't remember anything after that. I came to on the sidewalk. I felt like my jaw was broken and my knee. And when I came to, all I saw was my son swinging. I guess he had pulled the mailbox out of the ground, and he was swinging it at Mr. Barnes to keep him away from me. And then my other son came out when I was conscious. Things happened in the interim to get me inside. So they got me inside. I was sitting in a chair, and then I felt like I was going to get sick to my stomach. So I went to move into the bathroom downstairs and passed out in the dining room again, so the ambulance was on its way.
Can I see the medical reports, the ambulance reports, and the police reports that you have, please? So it looks to me as if you went to a medical provider that day and had x-rays of your jaw, of your knee. Okay, so you went immediately and had an x-ray. I'm not interested in stuff that happened months later. Okay, Mr. Barnes, now I'm prepared to hear you, sir.
Okay, Judge Judy. Mrs. Kreider is the biggest racist I've ever met in my life.
Just tell me what happened on March the 4th.
I was getting ready to take my wife to get some furniture for my daughter. I was sitting in my van, which was parked in front of my house, and my wife was getting ready to get in the car. So as she was walking to get in the van, Mrs. Kreider came up the hill. She was swerving her car, and she hit my wife, and she was laughing as she was doing it. I seen this from my rear view mirror. As I got out, helped my wife up, took her back to our house. If you could see, our house is very close. The doors are very close. I have pictures of it to show you. And I told Deborah, I said, Deborah, you're going to jail for this.
Okay, just a second. You saw the plaintiff's car knock your wife down.
Right.
You went and picked your wife up. Now, when did you say something to her?
Okay, as soon as I made my way back across my lawn to get my wife to the house, Deborah pulled her car around inside the driveway and ran inside the house. And she stood in the doorway. She didn't go anywhere. She stood there laughing at us as I'm helping my wife into the house. I yelled to my kids, call the cops, call for ambulance. I said, Deborah, you're going to jail for this. I said, I know where you live at. When I said I know where you lived at, the same face that she had when she hit my wife, it's like she changed. And she punched through the screen door. She hit me with the door, and she was making her way around the door. when she stepped down, she was coming to get me. I pushed the door back, and she fell in the little bush that was right there.
What's this broken car window that...
That's a window that she punched through. She punched through with her fist.
When?
This happened when we first moved, the week we moved here. She punched the window, and she told me.
What did she say?
She said, she rung my doorbell. I opened the door. I said, yes. She said, I broke your window, and you're getting out of here. She's shaking her hand. She had a brand, it was just wrapped up. She said, you're getting out of here. And she said, I'm telling you now, we won't have you in our neighborhood. Go back to the ghetto. You're getting out. This is something we heard on a daily basis.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Sure.
On the 4th, you knew that she was moving. Is
She
that
was
right?
evicted.
She was evicted?
Yes.
Tell me about the eviction.
My landlord served me with an eviction, and she served her with eviction. One officer called my landlord and explained how many times he responded to her in the past for a lot of violent things that she's done. My landlord went around to each of the neighbors and spoke about it. They told her each of the incidents that her family, her children, broke other people's car windows, all kind of things. My landlord, she said, Gordon, do you mind if I give Deborah a little time to leave? She don't have anywhere to go. I said, I don't mind, as long as they leave my family alone.
Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
And the landlord evicted her?
Yes.
Good. Now, Ms. Kreider, I just want you to answer this question. Is it correct that you were evicted from this residence?
Basically, but not for the reasons he's stating.
I don't care what reason.
Yes.
You were evicted after 3 years.
But I
After living
had
there
already
for-
purchased my home.
Listen, this is a quick phone call. Am I
Right.
correct that
Yes.
you were evicted from the house? Okay. Did you press charges against Ms. Kreider for running down your wife?
Yes.
What happened with that case?
When we showed up to court, she was arrested and she was in jail for assaulting another woman.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I took the mailbox post out of the ground, and I'll tell you, I wanted to hit him with it so bad, and I restrained myself from hitting him. I did not hit him with that, and you know what? Every day I wish I did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Kreider says former neighbor Gordon Barnes assaulted her on the day she moved out of the neighborhood. Gordon claims Deborah is a racist who tried to run over his wife.
Now, you were arrested for knocking her down with your
No.
car? Were you taken into custody?
No.
Were you incarcerated at any time within the last 24 months?
Within the last 24 months?
Yes.
I
Were
had
you
forgot, yes, one
Were you
time.
incarcerated at any time within the last 24 months?
Yes, over,
Okay.
but not an assault.
What were you incarcerated for?
All right, I had thought that the court date for their harassment charge, not any assault on her, because that was never filed, was on Tuesday. I went right by there, it was on Monday, and because I didn't show up at court and mistakenly had it even wrong on my calendar, that's why.
Ms.
And I was
Kreider,
out that same night.
Ms. Kreider, so there was a harassment action pending against you that had been filed by the Barnes
Right.
family.
Yes.
Was that your only arrest for harassment or any other charge in the last 24 months?
Yes.
What about your sons?
No, my sons have not been arrested for anything. My one son that is not here, that doesn't live with me, and he didn't live with me at the time. That's the one he was talking about.
How old is he?
He is now 20. He was 19 at the time.
And what was he arrested for?
He had been with me the day that we first went to the neurosurgeon. Because he had
What
an
was he
appointment.
arrested for? You don't get arrested for going to the
It was at
neurosurgeon.
about- what I understand, he had gone at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and had used a slingshot and shot out the back windshield of a vehicle that he knew to be the Barneses. This was after we had already lived in our house. We had already
So
moved
is
when
what
Jason
you're
did that.
telling me that your 20-year-old son went back to the Barnes house and committed an act of vandalism against the Barneses?
Yes.
That's outrageous.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it sure was. Now, Mr. Barnes,
Yes.
what happened with the assault case that Miss Kreider filed against you?
Okay, I was arrested, and when I went to court, I pled not guilty.
Yes?
6 months later, they gave me a contemplation of adjournment, and which said that if I don't get in any trouble in 6 months, everything will be dismissed.
The disposition of that case was an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal,
Right. Exactly. Thank you.
which is not a finding of innocence, sir. You understand that.
Right.
You chose to accept an adjournment in contemplation of dismissal, which says, I'm not going to fight these charges.
Right.
I'm going to sort of if there's no further incident between myself and the plaintiff for the next 6 months, or anybody else, the charges will be dismissed.
Can I explain to you why I did that?
I'm listening.
Okay, the reason why I did that, because every time the police came to my residence, they questioned me. I mean, when I was calling her for broken windows and stuff, they would ask me, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Why are you here? Why are your family here? In a very racist way. And when I went to speak to a judge in regards to this case, he said, Mr. Barnes, when you go back to the ghetto, take Ms. Kreider with you.
Is what you're saying to me, everybody involved in the justice system where you come from is a racist?
In that town, 90% of them seem like it.
Okay. Now, other than involving incidents with the plaintiff, have you ever been arrested?
Never. Never in my life.
Never in your life?
Right.
Would you mind if I say one thing to you, please? It's offensive to me, very, that anyone would refer to us as racist. One of my son's best friends, Tyrese, lived with us for over 2 weeks. I helped his family out. My son plays on a football team, and they knew that we were being told that we were racist. And these boys just left. I mean, we're very close friends.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Kreider. Why did you move after having lived there for 3 years?
Because
other than getting evicted.
Well, the reason why she did that, Mr. Barnes had just moved in December. Once she informed him that I had complained about the noise, he told her he would come over and speak to me. He was sorry that he didn't realize we could hear through the walls, because I could hear him and her fighting and being thrown against walls and where's my effing money and don't hit me in front of the baby. And my room seemed to be the focal point on the opposite wall. So instead of coming over to talk to me, he came over and threatened me. So I called the Broome County Sheriff's Department.
Listen to me, Ms. Kreider, that wouldn't have inspired her to evict you.
Right.
That
No, but my
listen
lease
to
was
me.
up.
It doesn't make sense, madam, that she would have evicted you after 3 years of being a star tenant. I don't buy it.
All right.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Well, my sons were the witnesses to all this. So.
Fine.
Which of
you?
Can I say something? First of all, none of us are racist at all. And
Fine.
My mom, I was in the car the whole time, and she did not hit her with the car at all. We were...
Just a second. Tell me your name.
Brooks Kreider.
Brooks. You remember March 4th?
Yes, I remember it. Shh. Sorry.
You were coming back from the new house?
From the new house with my mom.
With your mother. You're in the passenger seat of the car.
Yes.
And when for the first time did you see Mrs. Barnes?
I didn't even see her. We had pulled in to our driveway, and we had walked inside.
So what you're telling me is when you and your mother drove up to the house on that day...
outside.
Why don't you let me finish?
Sorry.
That when you pulled up to the house, Mrs. Barnes wasn't in the driveway, and you did not see her outside. Now, tell me what happened when Mr. Barnes came to the door.
Well, my brother had his friends over there, and they had walked out into the kitchen and said, Miss Kreider, somebody's here at the door for you. So I had walked out with my mother because I had realized that it was him.
You had had difficulty with Mr. Barnes before?
Yes, many times.
So Mr. Barnes came to the door, and you went out with your mother.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell me what happened.
Okay. So I had went out there, and then my mom had followed me, and he said, this isn't over, B. He says, I know where you live. Your house is green with white shutters. And my mom went outside, and then he punched her in the face. And he was standing out on the front lawn screaming. And then I had went over and grabbed the mailbox. We had a post, so I had taken the mailbox post.
It's funny to him. See how he laughs about it?
Yeah, I would. And
that wouldn't be funny.
And no. Well, you hit my mother.
Right. If somebody hit my mother, I would laugh about that.
Mr. Barnes.
Your Honor, I'll tell you. I took the mailbox post out of the ground, and I'll tell you, I wanted to hit him with it so bad, and I restrained myself from hitting him. I did not hit him with that, and you know what? Every day I wish I did because of all this stuff that he punched my mother in the face. I would never hit a woman, especially. That's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'd walked outside. I had grabbed the mailbox post out of the ground. My brother ran outside, and I was like, Jesse, get mom, because she was laying on she was like up against the brick, and she was passed out. And I had the mailbox post, and I was swinging it. And then he started screaming. His wife was at the door. He said, get my gun. And then...
I don't speak to my wife. But
yes, you do.
Mr. Barnes.
You definitely do. So anyway, she walked inside, and then Jesse's like trying to get my mom up, and my mom's like, she's finally like coming to. He gets her inside the house, and then I followed her. He had walked inside like a little while after his wife came.
Okay. Now, Mr. Barnes, what I want to see from you
Sure.
is a copy of the police report that you filed with regard to your wife being hit by the van.
Can I say one more thing? It's
Yes.
important. Anyway, when we were actually inside the house and we were talking to the police and we were talking to them on the phone, we had no idea that they were even going to say that my mom hit him with a car. This didn't even come up. Out of nowhere, when the ambulance pulled up for my mother, because we had called, my brother had called on the cell phone.
Shh, just a second.
When the ambulance had pulled up, she started standing at the door and she's like, she hit me with a car, and she started going hysterical, and I'm just
Okay.
like, it's ridiculous.
No, this is a supporting deposition.
That's what the police wrote up. He asked me and my wife to come to the precinct.
When did you go to the precinct? The
That
next
was
day?
The next day after my wife was taken to the hospital. And
I'd like to see the hospital report on
Sure.
your wife.
And believe me, that was the happiest day of our life when she moved. So we wouldn't have been angry at all. We was finally getting rid of this horrible lady and her family. And we filed order of protections. They never filed an order of protection. We was threatened. We have order of protection against her. Her son shot up my house twice, not once, twice.
You have a copy of that order
Yes,
of
I
protection?
do.
I'd like to see it.
The whole town knows her. That's why they issued it.
Shh. Listen to me, Mr. Barnes.
Right, it's funny again.
Mr. Barnes.
No, it's your story is funny.
She said the only black people she like is dead black.
Mr. Barnes, you don't want to lose by default here.
I'm very sorry.
This is very interesting, Ms. Kreider. The court in Broome County issued a final order of protection against you, and the final order of protection against you said that you were to stay away from Mr. Barnes and his entire family. Now, this was either after a trial or with your consent.
It's because of my son.
I'm not interested in because of your son.
Yeah.
It's a final order of protection that was issued by a court for a period of 2 years on February 21st. Explain it.
On December 22nd, my children and I went to go get our Christmas tree. Now, at that point in time, my 20-year-old, that is the reason why the restraining order is in effect, was still living with us.
Oh, no. Listen to me. This restraining
Right,
order
is
is
against
not
me.
against your 20-year-old.
I have one
This,
against him, though.
shh,
But there's
this
one-
restraining order is against you,
Yes.
not your 20-year-old.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
The date that we had gone to get that tree, we were not there. We came home.
So the
and
judge
found
made
out-
a mistake. The
Basi-
court made a mistake.
Can I say something?
No. Sit down.
Basically, what had happened was it was one judge that said that unless he
Do you
does
have
something again.
Do you have a restraining order against Mr. Barnes?
No.
So the only restraining order that exists, which is a final one, not a temporary one, after a finding of guilt, is an order against you in favor of the Barneses. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your case is dismissed, Ms. Kreider. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 331 on the calendar in the matter of Richardson versus McManus. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
All right, we're going to cut to the chase here and in a very brief period of time lay out this story, this sad tale as I understand it. Ms. Richardson, this used to be your boyfriend. You had an intimate relationship with him for a while. That relationship, according to both of you, terminated. You were involved with somebody else. You became pregnant and had a baby. Sometime after the child was born, Mr. McManus saw you, met you, whatever, and he looked at the baby, and the baby looked like he used to look when he was a baby. I don't know. And he got it in his head that he might be the father of this child. So far, is that pretty much right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Good. So he would come over and visit and want to bring presents for the baby and want to be involved with the baby. And in your mind, you knew that he was not the father. But he harassed you, according to you, and harassed you, and he said, I want you to take a blood test, I want to be sure. And according to you, he said, I'll pay for the test. So you took a paternity test, and you want him to pay for that test. That's what this is about. Mr. McManus says, you didn't take any test with me, and I never saw the results of a test that you did take. So I am assuming, Ms. Richardson, that the blood test that you took was with the person who was the father of the child, correct? Not with Mr. McManus, because the only thing that test with Mr. McManus would have established could have been that he was excluded as a person who could be the father of this child.
Right.
Mr. McManus.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you promise to pay for a blood test that Miss Richardson would take, a paternity test, that she would take, not with you, but with some other man?
No, Your Honor.
Did you promise to pay for a blood test if she took it with you?
Yes, that is correct.
That's right. That's what I thought. So why, Miss Richardson, did you take a paternity test with somebody other than Mr. McManus?
I was trying to keep Travis McManus's name away from my child's name because I knew that he couldn't be, clinically it was impossible for him to be the father.
My question is...
Oh, I'm sorry,
if
tell me again.
You're not paying attention.
Okay.
Either that or you're not hearing
This
me.
is too much. I went through too much with this guy. Go ahead. Why did I take a test? He harassed me for months. I didn't want his name on it when I could have the father, my family, all keep it together, not have someone who...
Are you on any prescription medication? Pay attention to my question.
Okay, ma'am.
He wanted to take a blood test with him.
Yes.
To determine whether he was the father of this child. And he said, if you take a paternity test, I'll pay for it. If I'm not the father, I'll still pay for it. If I'm the father, I want to know. I'm the father.
He didn't say it like that. He didn't differentiate at all. At all. He came into my home.
You mean you think that he was promising to pay you for a blood test that you took with another man?
No, he just said that he wanted to make an appointment and get it done. He said he didn't care how it was done or who did it, actually. And that's when I said, okay, well, I'll go and get his dad. I'll look hard for his dad. Plus, he'd already come into my house. And what he said in front of my child isn't something that a father, even a potential father, would say in front of a baby. So I wanted him nowhere near us.
Get me, just a sec. Would you get me the results of the paternity tests? I'm sure she has them somewhere in that.
I was scared to death, and so
paperwork.
was his dad, because he'd already been accosted by Travis McManus, like before the baby even.
How many children do you have, Miss Richardson?
I have a little boy.
This isn't the way test results come back to you when you take a DNA test.
Well, here's the rest of it.
Give me the whole thing.
Well, I mean, that's what I got. That was an email. That's all I got. And this, I just...
All right. Shh. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Richardson.
Okay. I'm just...
This is not going to tell Mr. McManus anything. This does not name the child. This does not name the father. It does not say who came to the report. It says nothing. Is there currently an order of affiliation legally declaring somebody to be the father of this child in any court?
No.
Okay. There probably should be. Do you live with the father of this child?
No, I do not.
Does the father of this child pay child support?
No, he cannot.
Why not?
I can't tell you why.
Listen to me. Mr. McManus.
But I do know Mr. McManus. That was
Mr.
one of his
McManus,
things.
I want you to listen to me very carefully, sir. I don't know whether you're the father of this child or not. I have no idea. I'm not going to get much from this side of the bench that I can
Oh my gosh.
make heads or tails of. There is probably, based upon this genetic testing, and I don't know what child was taken or what father was taken, I have no idea. But in all probability, if they did go for a blood test, if the blood test was taken and she paid for the blood test or this man paid for the blood test, this is an accurate report which indicates that there's a 99.99 probability that the two people who took this test are genetically related. Do you understand?
Thank
that
God.
would of necessity exclude you.
Great.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What he caused to the baby was just, it was wrong.
The baby will get over the trauma of him being told that he's
That's what
the
his
baby's
mom
father.
said. She'd get over it, that her kids are fine, but her kids aren't fine.
And later today,
When you got bailed out, where did you go?
We went to the park, and she told me she'd marry me.
Before or after you beat her up?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Richardson says ex-boyfriend Travis McManus owes for the cost of a paternity test.
Now, if, however, you are not satisfied with this test result, what you have to do is you have to go to the family court in the jurisdiction where you live, file a petition asking to legally be declared the father of this child.
Okay.
They will issue a summons. They will call her into court.
All right.
They will direct the taking of a blood test. You will have to pay for that blood test. If there is any question in your mind, I can't tell you what this says,
Okay.
because quite frankly, I don't know.
All right.
Your
Doesn't
Honor, he's
list
had
any
plenty
peop-
of time to do that. He just keeps threatening me with court, but he could do it.
Good, Mr. McManus, that is what you have to do. You can't
Okay.
threaten her. You can't go over there.
I have to
I don't
threaten
want
her,
you to
Your
go over there. I don't want you to try to see her. I don't want you to try to see the child. I don't want you to send her any presents. I don't want you to send her any money. Who is this person?
This is my mother.
Good. Your mother looks like a reasonable person. What you have to do is you have to take him by the hand. How old is he?
He's 27.
You take your 27-year-old baby by the hand, take him to a local family court, let him fill out a petition to be declared the father of this child. They will order the blood test. If he comes back not the father, he knows for sure that he is excluded as one of those people who could possibly be the father. Would that make you happy?
Yes, if I'm
Then-
excluded. Yes.
Then that's what you have to do. Do
Okay.
you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't go near her other than that. What?
So it's just about the paternity test, not the harassment? What he caused to the baby was just, it was wrong. It's wrong to come in and say, I'm your father, and confuse a baby like that. The baby lunged off the bed at him when he was coming at me. I mean,
The baby will get over the trauma of him being told that he's
that's what
the baby's
his mom
father.
said. She'd get over it, that her kids are fine, but her kids aren't fine, obviously.
Goodbye. Now you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Goodbye and good luck, everybody.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
For years, he has come in and out of my life, come to my parents' house when I'm not there, just different things. And like my dad says, he's just trying to get back in.
I think it's the other way around, to tell you the truth. I want absolutely nothing to do with this woman.
He seemed really civil after the baby was born. He'd come over to visit a few times, and I even asked his mom to sell my dad's house. And then he just freaked out.
When I first saw the kid, my gut feeling was, yeah, he was my son. So that's why I wanted a DNA test, and I haven't seen one yet.
Everybody knows my son. Everybody knows that he's the happiest baby in the world, and that he couldn't possibly be this maniac's child.
Hopefully I'm not the father.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Thompson versus Douglas, step forward, please.
22-year-old employment counselor Kara Thompson is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 23-year-old James Douglas, for shooting a hole in her ceiling and for the bail she posted after he beat her up.
All right, Miss Thompson, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours. You claim he owes you for a whole bunch of stuff. You claim he owes you for rent when he didn't pay rent when he lived with you for a while. Some bail money that you put up for him because he either assaulted you, you had him arrested for domestic violence, and then you had second thoughts, so you bailed him out. So you say he owes you for that. He owes you because he put a hole in your wall or in your ceiling with a gun, a whole bunch of other stuff. So in 3 or 4 minutes or less, would you tell me what your complaints are and why you think he owes you some money?
Okay, in the beginning of June, I agreed to let him move in my house under like roommate circumstances. He agreed to pay $300 a month rent.
How did
and
you know him?
utilities. I met him in April.
Were you dating him in April?
Shortly thereafter, after I met him, I started dating him in April.
Fine. So in June, you told him he could move in.
Right.
Why did you tell him he could move in June?
The place where he was living, the guy said that he couldn't live there anymore. He wasn't fulfilling his end of the bargain as far as chores go. He wasn't going to have a place to live. So he agreed that he would pay me $300 plus utilities and electricity to move in my home.
So we're talking about 2 months' rent.
Roughly, yeah.
What kind of work was he doing when he moved in June?
He was working at Post Falls Mazda as a car salesman.
Was he working on salary or commission?
He was supposed to be paid a base salary of $6 an hour and then plus commission.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am. It was $6 an hour or commission, and I didn't start working at Post Falls Mazda till September the 2nd until September the 19th.
Where were you working in June?
The gentleman I was living with, I was remodeling his home for room, like a free room, free food, and free beer.
Are you sure he was working for a car dealership in June?
Yeah,
and in July?
I would take him to work in the morning.
And in July?
No, he lost his job at Post Falls Mazda.
When did he lose the job?
Shortly after he moved into my home.
So how'd you expect him to pay rent?
Well, I would take him looking for jobs. I went to the job service.
How did you expect him, Miss Thompson, to pay rent?
I thought he was going to get a job.
Well, he didn't.
No.
And you let him stay there anyway.
I felt bad. I didn't want to kick him out if he was looking for a job.
So why do you want to impose that on me?
I want to impose that on him.
No. What you're doing is, if you have a relationship that goes south and the object of your affection has disappointed you, you pick yourself up and dust yourself off and start all over again. All right, let's move on. Red, let's talk about the bail. Bail. What did he do and when?
July 24th, we had a domestic violence against me, and he went to jail.
What did he do?
He beat me up.
He did?
Yeah. The morning of July 24th, he woke up startled and said that he'd wet the bed, and he was very upset about that and embarrassed. I said, okay, let's change the sheets. It's no big deal. And he went out into the front room, put some towels over it, and I said, we'll go get something to clean it up. He wasn't coming back to the bedroom, so I went out, and he was like going to sleep on the floor. I'm like, you need to come clean this up. Or he started yelling at me and calling me names. And then, I'm sorry.
And he put his hands on you.
Okay. I asked him to leave if he couldn't respect my property by not cleaning up that on my bed. I asked him to leave, and he grabbed my wrists and started throwing me around, and it proceeded from there, which he'd done before every time. I'd asked him to leave my home.
My question, Ms. Thompson, is then why did you bring him back? Why did you bail him out?
Because he asked me to bail him out.
Well, tell me how that came about.
He had a court for a driver's license suspension during the time that he was in jail, and so I went down to the courthouse and he was there.
What does that mean? You mean he was picked up, the police came, they arrested him.
Correct.
Put him in jail. While they were in jail, a warrant dropped on him for something else?
Correct. Correct.
For what?
There wasn't a warrant. It was just a day that I had to go to court for a driving on suspended ticket. And I wasn't allowed to...
Driving a vehicle with a suspended license.
Yes, ma'am. And I also had a no-contact order, so I wasn't allowed to talk to her whatsoever.
So what you're telling me is you never called her and asked her to bail you out?
I wasn't allowed to.
Okay. When did he call you?
He called me once from jail. He bargained with an inmate so that he was able to call me. He called me and expressed remorse, that he was really, really sorry. He'd never done this to anybody before. Could I please bail him out? And we also had two friends that went to see him.
Just a minute. So he asked you to bail him out and you did?
That's correct.
That's not a loan.
With the agreement to pay me back.
How much did it cost you, the bail? Because ultimately
$535, and I do have the check here.
Judge?
Yeah.
All calls are documented, so if I'd have called, I would have been breaking my contact order as well.
Just a second. You've broken the law before, sir. In worse ways than making a telephone call.
I've already been picked up for that charge if they'd have had it on document.
Not necessarily. When they said, we have somebody who's bailing you out, did you say, I don't want anybody to bail me out, I want to stay here?
I didn't know I was... no, ma'am.
No, of course not. When you got bailed out, where did you go?
We went to the park, and she told me she'd marry me.
Now, when you say she told you she'd marry you, did that come out, you're just walking along and she said to you, honey, I'll marry you, or did that come as a result of you saying to her, I want to marry you?
I had asked her before I went to jail, and when I got out, she gave me...
Before or after you beat her up?
That case is still pending. I have evidence that proves that I am not at fault for that.
That's a pending case? Then
Yes,
I'm not
ma'am.
going to go into it with you. Go ahead.
Okay, I have the check for the bail that I posted for him, and I also had to pay to get my car title back, so that was another $100.
Just a minute. That's
She
your
revoked
problem.
my bond.
Okay. That's your problem.
Okay.
All right, you want to go through this other problem that you had? You said he had a gun. There was a gun involved.
A couple days after he got back, there was a peeping Tom going around Post Falls. They showed it on the news, and I heard somebody come up. Something came up the back steps, and I asked him to go investigate, and he grabbed my .22 rifle out of my closet and put the clip in it, and I said, you are not supposed to have a gun in your hands. You're facing a felony charge. So he turned around and went to put it back in the closet, and it went off. I don't know how it went off, but it did. And it went through my ceiling and I have pictures of that.
Okay.
And he agreed to repair the ceiling and pay for those costs.
You want him to come back and repair the ceiling?
Well, I have an estimate for that, for the roof repair and the labor involved in that.
I'm looking at you with a look of incredulity, Ms. Thompson, for the following reason. If he beats you up, you don't invite him back to your bedroom. Do you understand?
Yes. It'll never happen
You don't
again.
look like a stupid woman. So here's what I have. I have a woman who brings in a guy to her house because he can't live at his old place because he's a bum. He loses his job.
That's correct.
He beats you up after he's been living in your house for a month. And you do the smart thing, you send him to jail. According to you, it's not the first time he beat you up.
That's correct.
First time he put his hands on you in anger. Would have been the last time. For moi. You gave him another chance, but on the 24th you finally said, he's going to jail. 4 days later, you bail him out. Comes back to your house.
Well, August 8th, I bailed him out.
I don't care what it is. So August 8th. So it's 6 days later. What are you talking? Are you arguing with me about a couple of days?
No.
I'm trying to tell you that you're not being smart. You're entitled to your bail money back. Fix the ceiling yourself. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $535. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 165 on the calendar in the matter of Banks versus Garcia. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Banks, it is your claim that the defendant had you falsely arrested for assault. This was not the first altercation that you've had with him, but you claim that this time you were tried and ultimately found not guilty after a jury trial. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You want him to compensate you in the amount of $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garcia says that you did, in fact, assault him. He has the injuries to prove it. He is counterclaiming for $5,000 for the assault. So, what created this problem between the two of you? Do you live close by to each other?
5 doors away, ma'am.
And how long have you lived 5 doors away from the defendant?
I've lived in my current residence just under 4 years, ma'am.
What about you, Mr. Garcia? How long have you lived in your current residence?
I've lived there for 9 years.
When did you and Mr. Garcia start to have difficulty, Mr. Banks?
In May, we had...
May of what year, sir?
2002.
So for a long time you lived there peacefully with Mr. Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's try to find out what the catalyst was in May 2002 that created the problem.
Mr. Garcia drove through the neighborhood, speed limit being 25. He drove approximately 40 miles an hour past my house. Witnesses here were both across the street.
He drove by 40 miles an hour in a car?
Motorcycle.
On a motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garcia, when did you get a motorcycle, sir?
About a month before then.
So before you got the motorcycle, everything was just dandy?
Yes.
So would you say, Mr. Garcia, that the problem was precipitated by your motorcycle?
Yes, Your Honor.
See how much progress we're making? Okay, Mr. Banks, let's have the incident that you are referring to today with regard to the false arrest.
That evening, Mr.
Give
Garcia...
me the date.
July 15th, 2002.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Garcia instigated a fight with individuals at a party.
How did he do that?
He drove very close to an individual who was giving the party.
Where did that individual live?
There would be 3 houses from Mr. Garcia.
And he was on his motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
He had a verbal altercation, at which time there was a shoving match, and he got punched in the head, knocked him out. They tried to retrieve his senses, put him back on his motorcycle, and sent him home. When his senses came back, he got upset, continued the fight. The fight resulted in various bruises and injuries that he's got pictures of.
And you took no part in that?
I watched.
How many people were at the party, Mr. Banks?
Approximately 20.
How many men?
I would say half were men.
So 10 men?
Yes, ma'am.
Of the 10 men, how many participated in the beating of Mr. Garcia?
About 5, ma'am.
And you were present at all times?
Yes, ma'am.
Give me the names of the 5.
I can give you 3, 2 I do not know. Isaac, Daniel, and David.
Did you tell that to the police?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I was accused of being involved in it. It was not my job to do the inquiry as to...
Well, if somebody said to me, I was accused, I would say, listen, I was there, And I wasn't unhappy that this guy was getting beat up because, you know, he was a jerk before, and I did nothing to help him. But it wasn't me who beat him up. I can give you the names of the people who beat him up. Don't take me to jail. I didn't do it. Wouldn't that sound like what a normal person would do?
I did not physically have the altercation with him, and he deserved what he asked for. No, I was not giving him the names.
Now, you were arrested, Mr. Banks. Did you retain a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
I assume that your lawyer made a motion to dismiss the case?
Several times.
And that motion to dismiss was denied?
Yes, ma'am.
What criminal act were you tried on? Assault in what degree?
Assault, bodily injury.
So it was a felony?
No, misdemeanor, Class A, ma'am.
Did Mr. Garcia testify?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he have witnesses who testified also?
No, ma'am.
Did you testify?
No, I did not testify, ma'am.
Did you have witnesses who testified on your
Yes, ma'am.
behalf? Are any of those witnesses here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Which witnesses?
Both, ma'am.
Both were there that
Yes.
evening?
Alan and Anita, yes, ma'am.
Okay, step up, sir. Tell me your last name.
Goodner.
You were there on the evening of the 15th of July?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you saw.
Ches drove by on his motorcycle. I think there was a beer can thrown or something like that.
At him?
At him.
Okay,
Someone
so he
in the
didn't
party.
just go by.
No, he
didn't
did. He tried to run over. I mean, people were in the street, and he did speed by. He turned back around. And he started having
After
words with everybody.
After somebody threw a beer can at him?
No. Oh, yes, he did turn around after the beer can, but I'm sure he would turn around anyway.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't anticipate what I'm going to say, Mr. Goodner.
Yes, ma'am.
Just listen very carefully. Put all your thinking caps on.
Yes, ma'am.
And think very carefully about what I'm saying so that you can give me a truthful answer. Because if you don't give me the truthful answer, I will make you look very foolish, and you don't want that
Yes,
in front
ma'am.
of 10 million people.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So he turned around because somebody threw a beer can at him.
Yes, that's correct.
And then what happened?
He got off the motorcycle and approached Isaac and pushed him. Pushed him several times, and Isaac finally had enough of it, and then that's when he hit him. He got knocked out for a few seconds and got back up and proceeded to fight him. And that's when everybody jumped in to get him off of Isaac.
Who's everybody?
Several people.
Name them.
David, Isaac, and Daniel.
What about you?
No, ma'am, I did not. I didn't want to take part in any part of this because
Well, give me the names of the other people who were there.
I really don't. I know Matt was there. That's about it. Only half of them were my friend.
And what about Mr. Banks? Where was he?
In the driveway, talking to Tanya, a girl
Who's
there.
Tanya?
A girl that lived at the house.
Okay. Just step up.
Sure.
Your name?
Anita Dore.
Are you a neighbor?
Yes, I am.
How long have you lived in the neighborhood?
I have been in the house 3.5 years.
Mr. Garcia's motorcycle, has it presented a problem in the neighborhood?
Oh, yes, it has.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, we have a long stretch in front of our street from stop sign to stop sign, and he zooms by, doesn't stop at the stop sign, and it's always real fast. And I had asked him, to slow down because my children could be in the yard or, playing or in the street, and accidents happen.
And what did he say?
He informed me that if they were in the effing street, then he would effing run over them.
What's wrong with you, Mr. Garcia?
Ma'am, I've never said that. I've never talked to this woman before.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Said, okay, well, how do you know I was speeding? It's a motorcycle. It's loud. I stopped at the stop sign.
You shouldn't be riding a loud motorcycle at 12:30 in the morning, Garcia. You understand?
Ma'am, it's really not that loud, but...
It's that loud.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kenneth Banks says neighbor Ches Garcia had him falsely arrested for assault. Ches says Kenneth beat him up.
Mr. Garcia, you seem to have a problem with your motorcycle.
You
lived peacefully in a neighborhood for 9 years, no problem with you. Then you bought a motorcycle and all this trouble started, sir.
I haven't ridden a motorcycle since.
Since you got beaten up?
Right.
Well, that's a good idea, Mr. Garcia, and I assume you haven't had problems since. Mr. Banks, let me explain to you, sir, why you have no case. You went to trial in a criminal case. At the end of the case, after Mr. Garcia testified, your lawyer made a motion to dismiss that case, as every good lawyer does. The judge who heard that case said, no. This case has to proceed to the end because there is sufficient evidence to establish that you were involved in that beating. If your case had been dismissed and the judge said there is no evidence whatsoever linking Mr. Banks to this assault, then you might have been able to proceed civilly against Mr. Garcia. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not so sure, Mr. Banks, that you weren't involved. You may not have started it. You were certainly happy that it was happening, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You should never be happy when somebody is getting pulverized, sir. The fact that he may have been endangering some people in the neighborhood by reckless driving of this motorcycle does not mean that he deserves to lose his life. Now you may be seated for a moment. Now I'm going to get to your counterclaim, Mr. Garcia. I assume you have some terrible pictures for me to see.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Banks, so that you'll understand this, he is allowed to proceed against you civilly, even if you were found not guilty by a jury, because the quantum of proof in a criminal case at the end of the whole case is by beyond a reasonable doubt. And the jury found that you were not guilty by beyond a reasonable doubt. They did not find that you were innocent. Quantum of proof here in this case is proof by a preponderance of the evidence, just a little bit of evidence, more so than not. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, please hand Officer Byrd the photographs, and you tell me, sir, your version of what happened, Mr. Garcia, on the 15th of July.
It was around 1 o'clock in the morning. I was coming home from work on my motorcycle. I was slowing down to stop at the stop sign that's in front of the house where the party was going on, and somebody threw a beer can at me. So I turned around and I said, what's the problem? And they started telling me I better get out of there and this and that. And when I looked up, I see Mr. Banks coming from in between two cars in the driveway, and I tell him, don't touch me, don't talk to me. I've got a lawsuit against you right now. And they said, if you talk to me, you'll be arrested. Well, when I said that, he turned his head and he bit me in the nose. At that point, I freaked out and I took off and I turned around, and then I hear somebody yelling, you tried to hit me. I got pushed off of my motorcycle, and me and Isaac started fighting, and the next thing I know, I have 4 people on top of me kicking me in the face. They broke my eye socket. I've got 2 titanium plates in there forever. I can't wear contacts anymore. They broke my nose.
Did you sue the other people?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I haven't had a chance yet.
What do you mean you haven't had a chance yet?
This has been going on for a year. Really, I'm at the point where I just want to be left alone.
Just a second. Mr. Garcia, do you have the police report that you filed?
I didn't actually file it. The police officer wrote it when I was in the hospital. And
How many people were tried for the assault?
Just 1.
Why is that?
I didn't know any other names.
Well, what kind of an investigation was done by the police, sir?
They didn't do anything. They really didn't.
Well, Mr. Garcia, that's outrageous, sir. I mean,
I know.
Here we have Isaac, David, and Daniel. Very easy to figure out. They all have last names. What's Isaac's last name?
That we don't know.
If we knew.
David.
No clue.
Daniel.
I have no clue.
Don't believe any of you. Who are you?
Chez's mother.
Were you there that evening, the 15th of July?
I was at home. I didn't witness any of the attack. But the police officer, when we were in the hospital, he said we had to get the names.
Listen to me. That's not your job. The police department is supposed to do the investigation.
Right.
I'm outraged. What country do you live in?
We live in Texas, and this whole thing has just been preposterous.
How old is your son?
My son is 21.
Okay. Who bought him the motorcycle when he was 19?
He bought it himself.
I was actually 20 when I bought it.
Where is it now?
It's sitting in the backyard.
Sell it.
I'm going to. I'm trying.
That's a very good idea.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I opened the door and I grabbed the knife out of the kitchen and I told him to get out of my yard. Well, he runs off down the street and he gets a pistol out of his truck and he comes into my front yard, sticks the gun to my head, walks me all the way into my house.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kenneth Banks says neighbor Chez Garcia had him falsely arrested for assault. Chez says Kenneth beat him up.
You still live close to each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I say something, ma'am?
Sure.
Mr. Garcia says I bit him. If you would look at the photos, you'll see no bite marks on it.
There is no indication in any of the photographs that he was bitten in the nose.
Ma'am, actually, there is a picture of my nose, and I have 2 marks on each side of the nose.
Sir, these 2 marks on this side of your nose could not have been made by a human being.
Well, I mean, he did. He bit me in the nose, and then Alan told me that I was lucky I wasn't killed because he's an ex-Marine.
Oh, I believe that the whole mob scene could have killed you. I'm just absolutely amazed that you didn't pursue these other people.
I tried to my fullest, and the officer wouldn't return our calls. We got a hold of the DA to try to get her to get a hold of him, and it just didn't go through.
I don't know why it didn't go through. But I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Banks. How old are you, sir?
38, ma'am.
Whether or not you participated in this assault, I am appalled that you sat back and watched. I mean, he's 20 years old. 20 years old is a moron. You're double his age. You can have a child his age. You permitted him to be assaulted badly, where they really could have killed him, because you think he deserved it because he was driving his motorcycle too fast.
Ma'am, that was not why I let it go on.
Well, then you tell me, Mr. Banks, why you let it go on.
Prior incident when he lied to the police, I spent a night in jail. At that point, no, I was not going to get involved in.
Another incident that involved an alleged assault?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
June 6, 2002.
And you were arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to that case?
That was no bail by the grand jury, ma'am.
Were you assaulted on June 6th?
It was actually May 11th. What had happened is I was driving home from down the street. It was about 12:30.
On your motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
12:30 in the morning or at night?
12:30 in the morning. And I hear beating on my door about 10 minutes after I get home. I open the door and I see Mr. Banks and Alan at my front door. I had never met them before. I walked outside and I said yes, and he said, "You're speeding, and I don't appreciate this and that." And I said, "Who are you?" And he says, "Well, I live over there." And I said, "Okay, well, how do you know I was speeding? It's a motorcycle, it's loud." I stopped at the stop sign.
You shouldn't be riding a loud motorcycle at 12:30 in the morning, Garcia. You understand?
Ma'am, it's really not that loud. But
it's that loud.
Anyway, he proceeded to push me up against the brick wall, and I smelled the alcohol on his breath. And I said, "Look, you need to leave or I'm going to call the cops." And he told me if that's what I better do if I know what's right for me. And he kept pushing me against the wall. And at that point, I opened the door and I grabbed the knife out of the kitchen and I told him to get out of my yard. Well, he runs off down the street and he gets a pistol out of his truck and he comes into my front yard and sticks the gun to my head at the driveway and walks me all the way into my house.
So what happened with that case?
They never contacted me. All I heard was it was no building. They couldn't tell me anything.
The only thing that I have to decide today is whether or not he's responsible for your beating.
Right.
You want to say something else?
Yes, ma'am. On behalf of Ken, do I approach her?
Sure.
Well, that night, whenever the knife got pulled, he pulled it on. He ran after Ken. I stood in front of the knife for Ken. Ken came back, felt I was in danger while his dogs were running after Ken. Ken came back with the gun on behalf of my life.
What did you go over to his house for?
Because it's better than calling the cops. And do a neighborly thing, go over and just talk to him. You know, I'd be mad if someone called the cops on me. Go over and talk to him. It wasn't as violent as it thinks. He flipped out. He came outside running. You could hear him scraggling
What
in the
were
kitchen.
you doing with Mr. Banks at 12:30 in the morning?
Hanging out.
Hanging out and drinking?
Yes, ma'am, I was drinking.
Yes. Sit down.
Yes, ma'am.
You have something to contribute to this?
Yes, ma'am. About 3 days ago, I was at my other next-door neighbor's house.
You're his brother?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And he comes up and tries to talk to me, and I don't really want to have anything to do with him.
Who's he?
Alan. And it boils down to where he was saying that it's real manly for Mr. Banks to pull a gun on my brother, saying that he's lucky, my brother is lucky that he didn't get shot that night.
Do you think that everybody got a little hot?
Yeah.
I think so, too. I'm absolutely amazed that the district attorney in Texas did not pursue the case against these other people. I'm unimpressed by the fact that an ex-Marine would allow a mob, if I were to believe him, to assault a youngster in his presence. You are under no obligation to stop that mob. But I think to say I'm an ex-Marine is sort of besmirching, in my judgment, that branch of the military. Because I think that your behavior that day, even if you did not participate in this assault, was abominable, Mr. Banks. Understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You don't have a case against Mr. Banks, Mr. Garcia, because I am not satisfied that aside from looking and gloating over the fact that you were getting the crap kicked out of you, that he actually participated in this assault. And Mr. Banks, you have no case against Mr. Garcia, because, as I said, the district attorney and the judge presiding over the trial, your trial, for assault, felt that there was sufficient evidence to proceed and give it to a jury. And our justice system does not give you two bites of the apple. That's all. Step out.
What is our excuse, mister? Now, this is case number 246 on the calendar in the matter of Brown versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Brown, Miss Wilson is your former girlfriend. And you claim she got really angry at you one night because she thought you were with another woman, an ex-girlfriend of yours. She came over to your house. You didn't answer the door. You looked out the window. You saw her leave, and she keyed your car. Right?
No.
What'd you do?
She did key my car, but I wasn't home. I was at my neighbor's house. My cousin was the one who answered the door. When she came to the door, he said, "Did you see your girl? Your girl just left."
Listen to me. I didn't ask for a whole story from you yet.
All right, I was just
Who saw her key your car?
I saw her key my car.
All right.
I went out my back door when my cousin told me that, he said, "Did you see your girl? She just left."
Shh. Don't tell me what anybody said to you. That's hearsay. You saw her key your car.
Correct. I went out my back door. I was trying to tell you where I saw her at.
Miss Wilson says she was really mad, but she didn't do it.
Correct. But he wanted home.
Miss Wilson.
Yes.
How long was he your boyfriend?
I met Curtis in April, and we broke up in like July or whatever. So it wasn't a long engagement.
Okay. Now, there came a time when you went over to his house?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
Whatever the day in question was.
What's the date?
The date was July 15th, if I am mistaken.
Okay. So you went over to his house for what purpose?
Okay. I called him on his cell phone. Nobody answered. Judge, I bought this cell phone for him. So the least he could do is answer the phone, you know what I'm saying? So I called it like 50 times. And nobody answers. So I live in Norfolk, he lives in Newport News. So I drive through the tunnel all the way to his house. So his car is parked not in front of his house, but on the side by the garbage can. So I'm like, okay, here he go with something that's not quite right. So I knock on the door. I see a woman look out the window. Now keep in mind, Curtis is still married to his wife. So I see the girl look out the window. I'm like, okay. So I'm knocking on the door, knocking on the door, knocking on the door. Finally, music pumping in the bedroom, sounds coming out the bedroom. I'm not stupid, Your Honor. So finally, he sent his cousin to the door. Kurt not here. I'm like, I just seen a girl in the bedroom. Oh, that was me. Okay, so now you got long hair and all this stuff? Oh, well, that was me. Kurt's not here. So by this time, I had went to the window before I even knocked on the door. I put my ear up to the window, trying to hear everything. I heard the music, I heard her, and I heard him. So I was filming, yeah, I was mad, but I left. I was really, really angry. I got in my car, and I left, and that was the end of it.
Good. Miss Wilson, you said Curtis is married.
Yes.
Is he living with his wife?
No.
Are they separated?
No.
Yes.
So shh,
yeah, right.
Quiet. So, Miss Wilson, what are you doing fooling around with a married man who's not separated from his wife?
Well, he didn't tell me in the beginning, I swear. He did not tell me in the beginning. You asked Curtis.
But then he told you.
But then he told me he told me they were separated. But then I talked to her herself. She said they wasn't.
Now tell me, Mr. Brown, tell me what you saw Miss Wilson do to your car.
Okay. I came out my back door. I use my back door. I don't use the front door. I use my back door to go in my house.
Just tell me what you saw.
I went out my back door. I was coming off the side of my building to the parking lot. I saw her exiting the hood of my car, going towards her car. She was walking like, say, this is my car. She was walking away. So I seen her scratching the hood of my car.
No, let me see pictures of the car.
So she had the scratch. My car won't like that before.
Well, Mr.
Brown,
She called me as soon as she left. She called me on my cell phone as soon as she left.
And what'd she say when she called you?
She said, "You gonna be real mad at me in a minute." I'm like, "Why?" She said, "You ain't gonna want to talk to me no more."
No, that is not how it happened.
She was like, "After you see what I done, you ain't gonna want to talk to me no more."
Did I ever say I keyed your car?
Yep.
You keyed Miss Wilson. Listen to me. I want you to be very, very quiet when I say this to you, Miss Wilson.
Okay.
You keyed his car.
No, I didn't.
Can I
it
say
was
one
his
more
baby
thing?
mama that keyed his car, probably, or all them other girls that was on. He just mad because he can't figure out which one it is because he's sleeping with so many women, so he want to pin it on me.
Can I say one thing, Your Honor?
Just a minute. Put your hands down. You keyed his car.
I didn't key his car, Judge Judy.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you did. If I had called him 50 times and he didn't answer the phone and I went over there and I was still his girlfriend and I went into his house and saw him fooling around with somebody else, you're lucky she didn't blow up your car.
Exactly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was true to her.
Yeah, whatever.
I was at my neighbor's house.
But you just lying all over the court.
And later today...
Listen to me.
They told me to
And the
leave and I
police-
left, and then she was supposed to come back.
Whose mouth is moving?
Both years.
And if both of that mouths are moving, who wins?
Judge Judy wins.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Curtis Brown says ex-lover Tabitha Wilson keyed his car. Tabitha says the culprit was probably another one of Curtis's girlfriends.
Can I see the bill? I believe you when you say you saw her over at your car.
How can you believe that? He
believe it.
Come out the house.
I believe it.
I came out the back door.
I believe it.
Oh my God.
What year car is this?
It's a 94 Ford Taurus.
You remember they used to have a company called Earl Shy painting your car or something like that? You know, they painted
paint any
it
car
for $2.99 or something like that.
$2.99, $9.99.
What's this $2,232?
He just trying
I went
to
to
get some
Mako.
money.
What?
I went to Mako. That's the estimate they gave me.
Go cheaper.
Because they said the scratches that's deep is so deep into the paint, it's almost in the metal.
Oh, well, then every time you look at it, when you get a cheaper paint job, you're going to think about being true. When you think of being true to one lady.
Yeah.
Or maybe two ladies.
I was true to her.
Yeah, whatever.
I was at my neighbor's house.
But you just lying all over the court.
My cousin answered the door. My cousin is light-skinned.
Mr. Brown.
My baby mama is light-skinned.
Mr. Brown,
so
get your car fixed. Get your car painted for $250 because I'm going to tell you something. That's all you're going to get from this court. Listen to me. $2,000, but you got it out of your system. You got it out of your system for $250. Do you feel better? Do you feel better?
Yes.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I went over to the boy house and then the lady gonna look out the window. Duh, play. That's you. Duh.
I want no player. I won't dare. I was out with my neighbor.
It really doesn't matter to me. All he got was $250.
I just know not to mess with crazy girls, and she crazy, man.
I'm mad because you was there with your baby mama and you ain't had to come out here and just tell me to go home.
She could have done something else besides scratch my car. So that was kind of, that tell you, only a crazy person do something like that, man.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Pedroza versus Collazo. Step forward, please.
20-year-old stay-at-home mom, Christina Pedroza, is suing the father of her child, 22-year-old construction worker David Collazo, for the return of her belongings. David says Christina is keeping him from seeing his child.
Miss Pedroza, you and the defendant have a young child together. Baby is about a year old. And you lived together for a short period of time, separated, and it is your claim that the defendant kept certain property that you amassed together that you should have. And that also you had certain of your personal property, clothes and stuff, that the defendant trashed or got rid of. Mr. Collazo said he kept what was his, what he paid for, and that he gave you ample opportunity to get your stuff, and he put it out on the porch, and it's gone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me when you lived together.
2000, 2001, 2002.
And when was your daughter born?
August 8th, last year.
And who is this?
This is my father.
When did you separate? When did you move out with the baby?
Like 4 months ago.
Is that right? You moved out in June?
Yes.
When you left in June, what property did you take with you?
The baby's clothes and her dresser and her little knickknacks, and that's it. He wouldn't let me get anything else. When I went in, I've got the police reports from when I lived with them. The police was called. The day that we went there to pick up this stuff, I had the police come with me, but he was so drunk, he was acting... he was acting crazy, and
This is a lot more information than I think I should. This is
to get your stuff,
Mr. Collazo, don't
drunk.
talk to
You wouldn't
Mr.
let me.
Collazo, don't talk to her. Talk to me. You want to talk to her? Go outside. You want to talk in court? You talk to me. I want to know what property it is that you think that you are entitled to, Ms. Pedroso, and let's do it quickly, please, because I'm beginning to lose it.
everything that I paid for, my
Well,
recliner.
you tell me what you paid for.
Okay, I've got receipts for my recliner that I paid for. My
All right, recline. Just a second. Recliner. Go ahead.
My dining room table and chairs.
Yes.
My bed.
It means that's the bed that you and Mr. Collazo shared.
Yeah.
I told you you could have everything.
Shh, Mr. Collazo. You're going to have a turn. I give everybody a turn.
I'm sorry.
If they're good, they get a turn. They're not good, they don't. Go ahead.
My clothes bag. He took all my clothes.
Oh.
I left them right there when Mr. Officer told me to leave.
Now, you purchased a recliner, a table and chairs, and the bed. What did you purchase it with?
My credit card.
So you don't mind if she gets the recliner, table and chairs, and bed, right?
Yeah, it don't bother me.
No, I want you to listen to me. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
She can come and get
She could come and get it.
the recliner, table and chairs, and bed.
The recliner tables and chairs in bed.
Perfect, because they're on her credit card. You don't have to repeat that. And she is responsible for paying for it. Fine. So you're going to get your recliner, table, and chairs in bed, pick them up within 5 days. You bring the U-Haul it. What's next?
I have a washer and dryer also.
Was that also purchased on your credit
No.
card?
No.
Well, who purchased it?
That was given to me by my father. He purchased it from my brother.
Is that right?
Yes.
Washer and dryer? Did you buy that, Mr. Collazo?
No, but I helped her buy all the other stuff that she had.
What other stuff?
Girl.
Shh. What other stuff, Mr. Collazo?
Everything she wants.
No, just a minute, but it's on her credit card.
I didn't pay for all of it.
When did you work?
Huh?
Don't, Miss
I
Pedroso.
still pay for it.
Don't. Don't irritate me. I'm ready to kiss you both goodbye.
Your Honor.
Speak not. That's it. She's also going to get the washer and dryer because her father gave it to her as a gift.
Yeah.
Right? So, recliner, table and chairs, bed, washer and dryer. You got it. Now, your clothes? Should have gotten your clothes when you went to pick up the baby's things in the dresser. Because he put the clothes out on the front porch. He doesn't have them anymore.
Listen, I went there with the cops, the sheriff.
Police.
The police.
Yes.
There was one cop. When I went there, I tried to get...
come in my crib when I'm asleep. You gonna come to my house when I'm sleeping? Just so you
Mr.
had the keys.
Collazo.
Drunk,
Mr.
naked
Collazo.
on the chair.
Shh. Mr. Collazo.
It's my house. I was chilling.
What did you have a discussion with him, Bird? Sure. And then if he opens his mouth again, throw him out.
This is the best way I can explain to you. If you keep it up, she's going to throw you out. Okay? And then I'd be forced to throw you out. You don't want that, do you?
Nah, Pop.
Okay. So you know what you do? Respect the court.
I'm
all right? Take your time. You all right?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
Where are her clothes?
I put them on the porch. The cop said, because I was like, why you guys come to my house for? Just because she had the keys. You was already gone.
No, look at me. Look at me. Don't look at her. I don't want you to look at her. You put her clothes on the porch?
Mm-hmm. Right in front of the cop.
And the
he's like,
listen to me.
He told me to
And
leave, and I left, and then she was supposed to come back.
Whose mouth is moving?
Both of yours.
And if both of our mouths are moving, who wins?
Judge Judy wins.
Just answer me. You put the clothes on the porch at the direction of a police officer. Is that what you're telling me? Were you present? The answer is yes or no.
I wasn't present when the clothes were put there, ma'am, but I was there when we went to pick up the clothes. Pick up her stuff a couple times with the chief of police.
Step up.
So I had no warrant coming on.
I have.
And what happened?
When we got there, David was very argumentative. He was drunk, and he was yelling at us to get out of his house. He was starting to push the chief around. The chief says, I don't need this, because he's a short guy. He was getting ready to call backup, and then he says, you know what, because they started arguing in the trailer, and then he said, well, you know what, why don't you guys just leave, get the baby stuff out, and you just go to court and get your stuff. But Christina's clothes, Your Honor, were still in the trailer. He wouldn't let him take it. Then, when he told her to come and get her stuff, she went there. There was no police, from my understanding, because I talked to the chief. No police officers went there when he said he put the clothes out there. There was no clothes out.
You don't know that. Mr. Collazo, you
Your
want to
Honor?
be a smart man? Shh, quiet. You want to be a smart man?
One day.
I want all of those things ready, and I want them all in reasonable condition. I don't want you to do anything nasty to them, because now I'm going to get to you with regard to seeing your daughter.
Thank you.
Okay. You have a drinking problem, Mr. Collazo? Been around the town for a long time. You have a drinking problem, Mr. Collazo. Because if you didn't have either a drinking problem or another problem with substances, you wouldn't be behaving the way that you are in court today. So you got a little bit of spirit from someplace other than your soul today before you came to court. I don't want to go into it with you, but I'm going to tell you this. If you made a baby, look at me. If you made a baby,
take care of my daughter.
Listen to me. If you made a baby, you have an obligation. You have an obligation to be a father. And that means having a job, being sober, making arrangements to see your daughter, and if she, for some reason,
shake her butt.
You're not paying attention, sir. And I have to conclude that since you know who I am, that the reason you're not paying attention to what I'm telling you is because you are a little bit high. So I want you to listen to me. She can't have you around a child who's a year old.
Punk boyfriend want to be smoking weed by my daughter.
Just a second. Mr. Collazo, look at me. What you're telling me is that Miss Pedroso is not behaving properly.
Yeah, but...
Are you listening?
Yeah.
Or are you listening to your inner voices? You have to see to it that you see your daughter by going to court, asking for an order of visitation, saying, I do everything right. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I have a job. I'm prepared to regularly support my daughter. I want to be able to see her. And if she doesn't let you do it and doesn't let you see your daughter, judge is going to say to her, I'm going to take the child away from you.
Yeah, then where's she going to go?
She's going to come and live with you.
No, Your Honor, you know what? I have no problem with him seeing his daughter, but he is doing this, getting drunk, getting high, and...
How you know? You ain't
Because I know.
Miss Pedroso.
I go to work every morning. I wake up at 5:30 every single morning. What do you do? You shake your butt.
But he paid $50 for her birthday, and that's it.
Put him out. He doesn't get it.
He paid $50 for her birthday.
Pay careful attention to me because I can't talk over two people talking. That's not the way I run this place. If he's not doing the right thing, and if you feel as if your daughter is at risk if she spends time with him, then you're right. But if he gets his act together, it's not right for you. You picked him. You had this baby with him.
I told him that. If he right now he's got a job, yay. But he's still on drinking, doing drugs, and he's not responsible for that. And he doesn't pay nothing.
Right. If he is, then you're right. And he shouldn't see the child unless you're comfortable that the child is safe with him.
That's all I'm saying.
That's all. Meanwhile, you go and pick up 5 days. We'll prepare the order. The recliner, table and chairs, bed, washer, dryer, goodbye.
Yeah, this is case number 259 on calendar in the matter of Siegel versus Starkey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Well, stand up here. Miss Siegel, I assume this young man is the young man who you allege hit your car while he was skateboarding in a parking lot, causing the windshield to shatter. You want his mother and he to be responsible for the damage to your car.
Yes.
Miss Starkey says that you hit her son because you probably were driving recklessly through the parking lot, and she wants you to be responsible for his medical bills. He was slightly injured. You were very lucky. What is happening? What kind of look is that?
I got scars from it. I have a scar and then...
He could have been dead.
Yes, I know that.
So then you were very lucky.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
That's all. I knew I'd get there. All right, Miss Siegel, you want to tell me when this happened and your version of the events?
Yes, it happened May 30th of this year. I was driving through the parking lot of Albertsons. It was a full parking lot. I was going about 20 miles an hour.
Where were you coming from and going to?
I was coming from these stores right here, and I was getting ready to pull out on Justin Road. I was going through almost to the road that goes into Wendy's, and I look up, and there's a kid on my windshield. And I slammed on my brakes, and he flew off. I put it in park and went out and made sure he was okay.
What time of the day was this, about 3 o'clock?
Yeah, it was about 3 o'clock. I have pictures of my windshield, and I have a picture of the parking lot.
Let me see pictures of windshield, pictures
and
of
then
the
there's,
parking
I
lot.
have pictures of my car, and there's an arrow with the damage. We've had the damage since been fixed.
You didn't take a picture of the dent?
No. I have a police report that says where the damage was.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay. It's on the back right there. It's his statement, the police's statement.
You're very lucky. What's your first name?
Jonathan.
Jonathan, you're very lucky.
Yes, ma'am.
Must have a very hard head. Were you wearing a helmet?
No, ma'am.
Did you tell the police that you darted across the parking lot?
No, ma'am.
What did you tell the police that you did?
I didn't. They never took a statement from me, ma'am.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Police officer didn't lie. Police officer asked you a question, and you said the pedestrian, that was you, advised that he darted across the parking lot and never saw the vehicle.
I did see the vehicle, but it was further back in the parking lot, and when I got 3/4 of the way through the lane that she was traveling down, and then Heather, the lady that was coming the opposite direction of her, saw me and stopped. And like, I saw her, but I figured she was going to stop because the witness had stopped because she had saw me before I'd even gotten the street. So I guess...
So you figured that she would stop. You figured that she saw you too. You made a mistake.
Yes, I did.
There we go. That's why we're here.
But she also, I'm assuming she was on her, actually I'm positive that she was on her cell phone. And there was...
Just a minute, listen to me. You think, you assume, you're positive? What was it? You think, you assume, or you're positive?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Just a second. We're going to get there. So, one lady, I assume this lady, was coming in the opposite direction.
Yes,
She
ma'am.
saw you and stopped her car.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you weren't in the right. You didn't have the right of way. You did not have the right of way. There's no stop sign there, right? And you're not supposed to be skateboarding in the parking lot, right? So you assume this lady saw you and stopped, so you assume the other person was going to stop because she must have seen you also, right? Well, what if she didn't see you?
That's what happened if she didn't see
Then you should have stopped because you saw her. It was clear you saw her.
There was no way I could have stopped.
Why? Were you going too fast?
Yes, ma'am. Because
Well, then you shouldn't have been going too fast in the parking lot, sir. That's not what a parking lot is for. What if there was a little child walking across the street? You would have hit the little child on your skateboard?
No, ma'am.
Well, you would have if you couldn't stop. If you couldn't stop, you were going too fast.
I would have moved.
Well, then why didn't you move if you saw her car?
Because of the moment, if the child was walking one way, I could have moved this way. The car was going at such a fast rate that I couldn't.
Miles an hour.
That's enough to where I could hit, and it's a bigger
Do you understand what he's saying? He's making no sense. None. I'll hear you. Step up. Mother wasn't there. You were there. You were driving a car. You don't know who he is. You don't know who she is.
No, I don't know either one of them.
You were driving your car. You saw him coming down the street.
I was pulling in right here. I saw her car. Her car was all the way back here when I saw her. I mentioned to my daughter, I said, surely she sees that child. She was on her cell phone, and he was 3/4 across this divider right here. He was almost to the other side when she hit him. It was not this child's fault. I don't have anything to gain from coming to court and
You're
testifying for
absolutely
this
right.
little boy. She jumped out of her car. I threw my car into park. I jumped out to see him because she hit him in such a force. He went up in the air. His shoe went off. He hit the windshield, bounced on the hood, bounced on the floor. And when I went to the boy's aid, he's on the ground, and at the time I assumed he was dead. And by her own admission, she was speeding 20 miles an hour in a 5-mile-an-hour parking lot. She jumped out of her car, cell phone in hand, screaming at this child. Excuse me, screaming at this child. You hit my car. Look what you did to my car. The whole time she screamed at this child saying that, at one point the police officer had to tell her to shut up. And this child is bleeding from the head. He's bleeding from the arm. His shoe is off over in the other side of the car.
Was there a stop sign where you were? Were you crossing over?
I had actually just turned on to right here. I'm here on 407, fixing to turn into the parking lot to go to...
so you were just turned in.
And when I was turning in, she was here.
Okay.
And if she had been paying attention, she would have seen the child. There's no way she couldn't have if she had not been on that cell phone and had not been speeding.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He hit the left front corner panel. He hit me. He skated into the side of my car.
If I find that you were on a cell phone, I don't care whether he came in through the sunroof.
And later today,
You acknowledge that you did toss pudding out of the car.
Yes.
What kind of pudding? Chocolate pudding, vanilla pudding?
It was a vanilla chocolate swirl.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kim Siegel says 15-year-old Jonathan Starkey ran into her car with a skateboard. Jonathan says Kim was on her cell phone when she hit him.
Well, I'm pretty confident, based upon what you tell me, that she had a cell phone in her hand.
Oh, yes, she did.
Oh, I believe that. Now I believe that. I didn't believe it when he said it.
He was
because
horrified.
I don't think he saw it, because I don't think he was paying attention to anything. But I believe it when you tell me that she had a cell phone in her hand.
No. Okay, she was 30 feet in front of, there's a big space between where the Wendy's parking lot and C. There's no way she could have seen in my car or seen what I was doing. And I had both hands on the steering wheel. My cell phone was in my purse next to me. And I didn't yell at the boy. I got out to make sure he was okay. I got my cell phone. I called 911. She sat him down on the rock and was telling him not to move because he could have internal injuries. And all Jonathan kept saying was, I'm fine, don't tell my mom, I've fallen and gotten hurt worse, I'm okay, just let me go home,
So?
No.
What does that have to do with being on a cell phone?
Well, I wanted to say I wasn't.
Why would she say that you were on a cell phone if you weren't? Do you know her?
No, I don't.
She doesn't know this lady at all. Why would she say that you were on a cell phone?
I don't know. I wasn't on my cell phone.
Yeah, you were.
No.
Yeah, you were.
I was not on my cell phone, it was in my purse.
I don't believe that. There is a basis for you to tell me you weren't on your cell phone, but there's no basis for her to lie. And I don't think that you have to necessarily see somebody who's speeding through using a skateboard in a parking lot. It's not what he's supposed to do. I mean, there's no question. You understand that. You're not supposed to be on your skateboard in a parking lot, going too fast so that you can't stop. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, you're not blameless, but I believe you were on a cell phone. And since you're driving the car, and the car is a bigger piece of equipment, madam, you don't get a penny. I believe that you were on the cell phone. I do. I also think, stand up here, I also think that you have to accept a certain amount of responsibility for what happened. She wasn't looking where she was going because she was on a cell phone, but she wasn't looking out for a skateboarder. She's in a parking lot, and you were going too fast in the parking lot, and you got hurt, fortunately, not seriously, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of medical bills did you have?
I had to go, the ambulance ride there, and then I had to go to the hospital for the emergency room fee. And they had to clean up some stuff on my head and my arm.
Okay. Let me see the bills that you had.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Uh-huh.
I was traveling only about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Police weren't really sure how fast. And he hit the left front corner panel. He hit me. He skated into the side of my car.
If I find that you were on a cell phone, I don't care whether he came in through the sunroof. I believe you were on your cell phone. That's what I believe. Okay. I believe that because you say you weren't. She says you were. And she has absolutely no reason to lie. Okay. All right, let me see the bills. Jonathan, your pain and suffering you have to deal with yourself. I'm not entertaining any applications for your pain and suffering because stay out of parking lots.
Yeah, I know. I'm way more careful than what I was.
Good. Now, when you're dealing with a pedestrian, you have to be so vigilant. That's why they have 5-mile speed limits in parking lots rather than 15 or 20. Because people dart out of cars, kids get into a car, they get away from their parents. You know, parents drop their hands for a second, kid darts out. So 20 miles an hour, you can kill them. 5 miles an hour, they have a chance. That doesn't mean a parking lot is there for your pleasure and for your amusement and entertainment. It's not, because she has to be vigilant looking for people coming out of cars, and she has to be vigilant with respect to cars in and out of the parking lot, but not somebody who's speeding at probably far greater speed than 20 miles an hour on your skateboard. You got me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Now, if she had a cell phone in her hand, which I believe she's not entitled to recover, period, end of discussion. And you have to pay for the medical bills, madam, because she's not responsible, because you were at fault. He was no genius, but he's a baby. He's 15 years old. All right, judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $532. The claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I got a phone call saying my son had been hit by a car.
He had hit right above my left tire and went up on my windshield, and I slammed on the brakes.
I was worried, and I shook the whole rest of the way to where I was going.
My windshield was shattered, and I have a kid on my windshield.
He said that she got out of the car, and all she was worried about was her car.
Shock, hysteria. I was a nutcase.
This child has had sleepless nights because of it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hassanzadeh versus Clark. Step forward, please.
Kimberly Hassanzadeh and her daughter 17-year-old Ashley are suing singer Paul Clark and his son, 17-year-old Jeremy, for damage to her car. Ashley claims Jeremy and his friends pelted her with pudding.
What's your first name?
Jeremy.
How old are you, Jeremy?
17.
Are you an idiot?
No.
Is this your father?
Yes, he is.
Do you think your father would be very distressed to learn that after all that he's invested in you, he invested in an idiot?
I suppose so.
Yeah, right? Spent all that money? Let him drive a car? What kind of car was your father letting you drive?
This was a 91 Accord.
And who owns it?
It was actually my grandmother's.
So you have a grandmother who indulges you too?
Yeah.
Are you an only child, Jeremy?
No.
You have older siblings?
I have 2 older sisters and an older brother.
So you're the baby. Oh! There goes the problem, Mr. Clark. He's the baby. Ashley, did you know Jeremy before this event?
No, I did not.
Ashley's just driving her car, and you were driving your grandmother's car, and there were some other friends of yours that were in their cars.
Yes.
And some other friends who were also idiots, and they decided to throw pudding.
Yeah.
Not anything bad, just pudding.
Yeah, it's just...
What kind of pudding? Chocolate pudding, vanilla pudding?
It was a vanilla chocolate swirl.
And had you all gotten these pudding cups before you got into your cars?
Yeah.
Where did you get them from, Jeremy?
The local grocery store.
You bought a 6-pack?
I think there's 2 6-packs per car. There's 3 cars.
Did you have spoons?
I actually did. Because
okay. No, I'm trying to put this all together. You don't mind if I do this to your son, do you, Mr. Clark?
Fine, ma'am.
Okay, now you're driving your grandmother's car.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that you, in fact, did toss pudding out of the car.
Yes.
But it is your contention that your pudding didn't hit her car. It was somebody else's pudding that hit her car.
It was a failed attempt.
You had a failed attempt. And so that's your defense.
Yes.
You say his pudding landed in your car.
Yes.
Okay. You're driving along and you have your pudding in your hand.
Not while I was driving, no.
Where was it?
It was in the center console.
Now, what prompted you, Jeremy, to pick up that pudding and chuck it out of your car?
The initial was that they flipped us off and sped off.
Ashley and her friends?
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. When you say they flipped you off, you do not have to demonstrate. Bird understands what that means, and so do I.
Yeah.
Were you saying anything to them, or any of your friends?
There was a light conversation, but...
There was light conversation?
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Like what kind of light conversation?
Well, we were driving next to him, and I had waved to him because they're looking over, so I politely waved.
Show me how you did that.
Kind of stuff. hey, how you doing? Type wave. We're going 45, 50 miles an hour down the road, and you can't really tell what they're saying.
Okay, so then they flipped you off, and you got mad. And did they flip you off or your friends as well?
Well, it was the car. It was kind of they took off and.
Well, but there was more than one car.
True,
so
but yeah,
you went like
it was
this.
my car.
So you were the one that was
yeah.
disrespected.
Yes, I felt disrespected.
Do you have a photograph of your car?
I took these photographs after she had cleaned it, but it will still show it got on the speaker. That it's the area she couldn't get it because it's convertible and the top was down, and she could not get it out of all the little areas.
Okay, did you pay to have it cleaned?
Yes. Here's the receipt. And we just asked them to clean the areas where the pudding had gotten into the speaker and all the little areas of her soft top. The convertible top was down.
Okay. Now, Jeremy, who was it who landed their pudding in the plaintiff's car?
We actually don't know. We know what car it came
That's
from.
all I want to know.
Okay.
You actually don't know.
We actually
But
don't
it would
know.
be safe to say, Jeremy, since you were the one who was disrespected,
Yes.
and you were the one who threw the pudding first, even though it didn't land on the car, right?
Uh-huh.
Listen to this logic, Jeremy.
Okay.
You seem like a, at least academically smart boy.
Well, thanks.
Not socially adept, but academically smart boy. It would be a fair statement that your friends followed suit in the other cars, right?
Yes.
So you are a leader.
I am.
You know what leaders do? They take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So now we have, for your team, $89.99 plus tax, $96.76 for detailing. He's got to pay for being a fool. That's all. Right?
Right.
Good. No excuses. I love it. I love it. He's not such an idiot after all, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, ma'am.
All that money that you spent on the baby wasn't wasted. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $96.76. Thank you.
Yes, this is case number 98 on the calendar in the matter of McIntosh versus Sexton. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
A fight over a man. How stupid can you get? And where is this man that we were all fighting over?
Are you asking me, Judge?
Anybody who'll answer my question.
Oh, he's incarcerated at the present time. Great. He's not really the reason why we're here, though. He was irrelevant to this.
No, he's not irrelevant, but for the fact that each of you were related to him in some way by affection, you wouldn't be here. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know what she had going with him, but I know he respected me. So I don't know exactly what she had going with him.
All right, Ms. McIntosh, it's your claim that Ms. Sexton assaulted you.
Yes.
She assaulted you with a bottle. You were seriously injured. According to you, you wanted to pay for that. You were briefly involved with the defendant's boyfriend. You didn't know that he had a girlfriend, according to you.
Yes.
And anyway, somehow that escalated. You're going to tell me the story. Ms. Sexton said that she acted in self-defense, that you picked up a bottle first to hit her. She got the bottle out of your hand, and so she bopped you with the bottle. This was really a brawl. She says in her counterclaim that you damaged her car on 2 separate occasions, and that she wants you to pay for her legal fees that she spent in defending these assault charges. So that's your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently pregnant, Ms. Sexton?
Yes, I am.
And the father of this child is the person who is currently incarcerated?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any other children with him?
No, ma'am.
Did you become pregnant after you found out that he was fooling around with an underage person?
Well, actually,
Just answer my question. That's either yes or no.
Well, yes.
Another testament to your good judgment. How old are you?
18.
How old are you, Miss Sexton?
I'm 27.
You have children?
No.
Okay, Miss McIntosh, let's hear it.
On August 18, 2002, I had my sister take me to a friend's house to retrieve a necklace I left over there.
What time?
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Go ahead. I must be living in another culture.
So, as I was inside of the residence...
What do you do for a living?
I'm a student.
What day of the week was August 18th?
A Sunday.
What do you do during the summer?
Nothing.
Why?
Because I'm a student. I go to school right now.
You were going to school in August of 2002?
School hasn't started yet.
So what were you doing?
Nothing.
Didn't you ever hear of working?
Huh? Yes.
That's what most 17-year-olds do during the summer when they're not in school. That keeps them out of trouble, so that they're not out at 2 o'clock in the morning going to retrieve a necklace. You're her friend?
I'm her sister.
Sister. I won't even ask what you were doing, because you're older than 18?
Yes.
So you were on your way to retrieve a necklace at 2 o'clock in the morning from a friend's house. And what happened?
While I was inside of the residence, the defendant...
Inside of what residence?
My friend's house.
Who's your friend?
My boyfriend.
Oh, so that's the boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a girlfriend's house you were going over
No.
to. Your sister was taking you over to your boyfriend's house to get a necklace that you had allegedly left there. Is that right?
Yes.
Who did he live with?
His mother.
Is she normal?
Yes.
Well, what do you think some normal person would think of a young 17-year-old popping by at 2 o'clock in the morning?
She was asleep.
So what happened when you got there?
While I was inside of the residence, the defendant, Alicia Sexton...
Just a second. You were inside with the boyfriend?
Yes.
How long had you been there inside?
Like 3 minutes.
And where was your sister?
Outside in a car waiting for me.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Your Honor, that's not...
I don't want to hear
okay.
it yet. So you're inside with the boyfriend at his mother's house at 2 o'clock in the morning. And
the defendant came in, Alicia Sexton walked in with my friend's little brother. She came in and she asked me what my name was. I replied, Sita, and she struck me upside the head with a bottle. I then fell, she got on top of me or whatever and started hitting me. My friend broke it up or whatever.
You're talking in terms of this boyfriend?
Yes.
Who's in jail?
Yes.
He broke it up?
Yes.
Go ahead.
As I ran outside, Alicia came after me. She had the bottle in her hand. She threw it at me, but it missed me. And then she got on top of me. When she slammed me, she got on top of me again. That's when my friend and my sister came over there and they broke the fight up. My sister didn't rush me to emergency. I had 11 stitches. I got cut 2 different spots, 8 up here and 3 down here. I have pictures.
Let me see. Okay, let me hear your version of the events, Miss Sexton.
Actually, Judge, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I was on my way over to pick my boyfriend up. We lived together. He was at his mother's house while I was at the casino.
What were you doing there?
I was gambling.
Now, you and this boyfriend lived together?
Yes, we lived at my home.
Who else lives there?
Just me and him.
How long have you been living there?
We've been living together for about 4 years now.
Go ahead.
This is actually a housing project where I was picking him up from. When I pulled up outside, I seen this young lady run in the house. She wasn't already in the house. She was outside with a bunch of people. I was not even aware of this girl, who she was, didn't know what she looked like or anything. She ran in the house, at which time his little brother showed up, and I went in the house with him. Well, he was trying to push her out the back door at the time, my boyfriend. She wouldn't go. So I said, who are you? And she said, I'm Sita. And I said, oh, you came to my house and busted out my car windows. Because she had already came to my house before on an incident prior to this and did damage to my vehicle.
How do you know that?
I have police reports with witnesses that seen her do it.
Well, you never filed any charges with regard to that.
I tried to file charges for the destruction of property in that case, ma'am. Yes, I did.
Do you have any witnesses here that saw her do it?
No, but it's in the police report.
I don't care what's in the police report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She said, you broke out my car windows. And she said, yeah, I did, and what you gonna do about it?
So you showed her what you were gonna do about it. So you hit her.
We were fighting each other. Oh, no. I don't know if I landed the first punch or she did.
Miss Sexton, you know everything else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larceta McIntosh claims she and Alicia Sexton had a physical brawl over a man. Larceta says Alicia hit her in the face with a bottle.
So, at the time you saw her and she told you her name.
Right.
According to you, then you knew who she was.
Then I knew who she was.
You had never called her before.
No.
Because she says you called her house a year
before.
No, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I called her mother prior to that.
Thank you. Well, that's what I want to know. You called her mother.
But not her.
What? Don't play with me.
Right. I called her mother.
What did you say to her mother?
I asked her mother, was she aware that her daughter had called me and told me she was having intimate relations with my grown boyfriend that was of age and he shouldn't be having intimate relations with her, and that if he was...
So she called you?
She called my house first to tell me of this relationship she was having with him. And so at the time, I was trying to get this resolved because she was underage and I'm grown. And so the mother said that, no, her daughter was just lying, and her daughter told me this, that her daughter was just trying to make me mad.
When did her daughter tell you this?
Like she had to be about 15, maybe 16 then.
So you did speak to her on the phone?
Yes, she called my home. I didn't call her house.
So then she called you and you spoke to her?
Yeah, and then I, in return, called her mother to see what was going on. And so when I did call her mother said she was just trying to make me jealous. I told her mother that her daughter told me that she was having relations with him and that he was too old to have relations with her, and if that was really the deal, that I wanted to know.
Okay. The boyfriend is trying to push her out the back door because you're coming in the front door, and what happened?
Like I said, I was coming to where they were standing. She was standing right behind him. I asked her, who was she? I wasn't even aware of who this girl was at that time.
Well, what did you say to her?
I said, you came to my house and busted out my car windows, and she said, you know, real cocky or whatever, and she said, I'm Sita. And I said, oh, and we started a physical confrontation at that point.
So before you asked who she was, you said to her, you came to my house and broke out my car window.
Right.
So you knew who she was.
No,
Miss Sexton. That's what you just said.
I didn't know who she was by her looks. I just figured that was her because she made her presence appearance when I pulled up.
Listen to me. You just said to me that when you walked into the house, you said to her, you broke out my car windows.
After she said that she was Sita.
No, that's not what you just told me 2 seconds ago.
That's what I meant to say. That's how it went.
You knew who she was.
Well, I kind of had an idea when she made herself present.
Let's not play with each other.
But I didn't know
I don't
who
have
she
time.
was.
I'm speaking. Don't try to talk over me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so at that time, we started a physical confrontation.
Look at my eyes. What do you mean at that time we started a physical confrontation?
We started fighting.
Somebody always starts fighting first. So give me a step-by-step of what happened.
I asked her, like I said, who she was. She told me who she was. And at that time, I said, you came to my house and you broke out my car windows. And she said, yeah, I did. And what you gonna do about it?
And?
So we started fighting.
So you showed her what you were going to do about it.
We fell on a coffee table and the coffee table
So you hit her. So you hit her.
We were fighting each other.
Oh, no.
I don't know if I landed the first punch or she did.
Miss Sexton, you know everything else. You know what you said, you know what the boyfriend said, you know about little brothers, you know everything else, but you can't tell me who hit who first?
Well, we started fighting at that point.
Okay, well, if you don't know, who hit who first? Did she hit you first?
She hit me with the bottle.
Well, since you don't remember, babe.
I didn't hit her with the bottle.
Listen to me. Since you don't remember, I have to assume that she remembers. If you just said to me, I don't remember, then I conclude that you hit her first. Because if you don't remember, and one person says I remember, and logically it makes sense to me that, you would hit her.
I hit her with the bottle, and I did not.
Well, I don't care what you hit her with.
We fell on a coffee table, a glass coffee table, and broke it, Your Honor.
Well, let me tell you something, madam. If the fight started because you hit her first, and in self-defense she reacted, you are still liable. And I have no idea why the police dismissed these charges against you.
They never even came and spoke to me.
Well, that's some police department. You are responsible for her injuries. Since you don't remember, and she does, you're responsible. You had hospital bills? Well, in what amount?
My hospital bills came up to, like $730.
And was there an insurance deductible?
I don't care whether there was or whether there wasn't. She's suing. I'm speaking.
And that's for why the case was dismissed.
Can I see it, please?
I think the hospital bill on back of the police report.
Oh, it was dismissed on a speedy trial motion. Is that right?
Yep.
So the DA didn't move fast enough.
Yes, that's correct. That was the only reason.
They must be very busy in Douglas County, Nebraska. You're suing her for $2,000 for both the medical bills and your pain and suffering. You are entitled to that. So on your complaint, I am going to award you $2,000. Ms. Sexton, you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim states that she damaged your car. You have proof of that?
In the police reports, the police spoke to the witnesses.
And that's the only proof that you have?
Well, in that I seen her actually bust my window out at one time.
I don't believe that, because if you had seen her busting out your car window, then you would have put that in your answer and in your counterclaim. You chose not to do that, and even the person who you brought with you was shaking her head no. Isn't that right? Isn't that right?
No, it's incorrect.
Oh, yeah, she saw her bust out her windows?
Yes, I did.
Oh, how come it's not in the answer that you put here, madam?
Caused damages to my vehicle on 8/17 and 7/13. It is in there. She caused damages.
No. You didn't tell me that you observed it.
If I may.
Step up. Who are you?
I'm her mother.
Did you observe her? Did you make...
I did not observe her. She has a protection order against me, and I have one against them also. The first time that her windows got broken out at her home, she called me at 5:30 in the morning. I went up there. I looked at her caller ID. She said that the girl had been harassing her all night.
There's no question in my mind that this 17-year-old girl
got infatuated.
Be quiet.
Yeah, your judgment's not terrific, Miss Sexton. Your mother can attest to that, isn't that right?
On some things, yes.
There's no question in my mind that this 17-year-old girl was strung along by this person currently incarcerated, soon to be a father. There's no question that she acted inappropriately for a 17-year-old or for a 27-year-old or for a 15-year-old. Your daughter is supposed to be older and smarter.
And I called her parents, the 17-year-old's parents, at that time. Spoke to the father first. The father told me that she was out of control, that yes, she was out all night, that they didn't know where she was, that's what's the car she was.
She's out of control.
She was supposed to be on a curfew at the time, ma'am.
Put yourself down.
Well, anyway, I asked them, I said, well, can you do something with her? She can't keep coming up here, calling here, breaking out windows, causing all this damage. Something's going to happen, and one of them are going to end up getting hurt eventually. Later that day, her mother called my house, told me that I was going to bury my daughter with my other dead daughter. And I said, if anything happens to my daughter, your daughter's the one coming up here. So I went back and forth.
What does this have to do with car windows?
It just kept going back and forth.
Listen to me. What does this have to do with car windows?
The damage is excessive.
She was coming to my home.
Doing it, and she kept coming to her home. My daughter never went to her home, never called her, anything.
Listen to me. In all probability, she did it. Just give me proof.
Well, the only proof I have is the witnesses that are in the police reports, ma'am.
Well, I can't use that, madam.
Well, I did ask if I could bring notarized statements or anything. They said no. Right.
So. No, you could bring witnesses.
Well, these are older people that own businesses and couldn't come.
And I can't help you.
And then at the housing project that night, the mother of the defendant told her, do not break out her windows because they were threatening to, and she saw her break it out.
Tell me what you saw.
I'm going to tell you what exactly happened. We had a confrontation in the house. At that time, we went outside, and she didn't rush to no hospital. We went outside and fought 3 more times before she left.
Yes.
To tell you the truth. She didn't rush to no hospital.
Keep going.
The first time that they broke it up, she went outside, and she was all mad and everything. So at that time, she was outside. She bust my window out with a baseball bat.
Just don't give me a long explanation. I want you to look through the police report. And you tell me if anywhere in the police report you told the police that you saw her with your eyes break out your car window. Take a moment and look through the police report.
I already know
and
what
let
the
your
police
mother
report
help you.
says.
Put your hand down. I'm not interested in you.
I know what the police report says.
No.
I did. No, in the police report, no, I didn't. The police never showed up that night. They never came. That's why I was unable to tell them that.
At any place in the police report from the next day, 2 days later, 3 days later, because they add on to police reports, you know, when you make additional reports, any place does it say that you told the police that you saw her break out your car window?
No, it doesn't.
Sorry, can't help you. Miss McIntosh, reluctantly, I am awarding you what you are requesting, which is $2,000, because you were, in fact, assaulted by Miss Sexton, and I believe that she threw the first punch. But I think that you probably were out of control, smitten with a loser who happens now to belong, at least temporarily, to Miss Sexton when he gets finished belonging to the state of Nebraska. Is your last name Sexton?
No.
What is your last name?
Buckley.
Miss Buckley, your daughter has made some serious errors in judgment. And I would hope that now that she's going to have a child, you try to inculcate into her some responsibility.
That was his judgment. I don't.
No, it was your judgment, Miss Sexton. It was your judgment to get yourself hooked up with and get pregnant by somebody who
that respected me, that I didn't know anything about disrespecting me.
Oh, save me. Bird, get him outside.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is case number 135 on the calendar in the matter of Totter versus Ferrier.
Totter, is that how you pronounce your name?
I'm going to say Toto.
Totter versus Ferrier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thanks, Bird.
You're welcome, Judge.
Mr. Ferrier is your former husband, is that right? Mm-hmm. And the co-defendant is his present wife. It is your claim that Mrs. Ferrier called your boss and made some slanderous remarks about you, which caused you a great deal of emotional distress, caused you to have to hire a lawyer, a whole bunch of other things. You want a whole bunch of money from the two of them because you think that they're both responsible. Your former husband and his wife say that you did, in fact, harass both of them, that they've suffered by having to lose wages because work-related absences, and they are counterclaiming. So I want you to tell me, this whole thing started over a $10 check, is that right? Mm-hmm. You have a child together with Mr. Ferrier.
Yes.
How old is that child?
Now he's 12 and a half.
And who has custody?
We have joint. I had full custody the first 11 years.
Is that right?
I have custody of him, Your Honor.
You have
physical custody.
We have
but
joint.
It's joint custody.
You have
But
joint legal. Shh, just a second. You have joint legal custody, but you have physical custody
Yes,
of him.
Your Honor.
Is that by court order?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about this check that you got back.
I found out
that you didn't get back.
I found out that I overpaid and
overpaid what?
On the medical bill.
You got a medical bill for your son. What was the bill for?
$63.36.
Put the papers down, please. And you paid that bill. And then you found out that you had overpaid the bill, according to your complaint. How much did you overpay the bill?
$10.69.
Your insurance company sent back a check for $10.69. Who did they send the check to?
To his address.
In whose name was the check?
My son.
And your son's name is?
Shane Ferrier.
And what did Shane do with the check?
All I know is that they both signed it. My son signed it, and my ex-husband signed it.
And that started a problem?
I was very upset. I felt like they took something that didn't belong to them.
So what did you do?
I made a few phone calls.
How many is a few?
From the house that evening, October 7th, I don't remember how many.
More than 5?
I don't know. Maybe 3.
How many phone calls?
Your Honor, I can't remember how many phone calls. She called in the middle of the night. We changed our phone 3 times because of the harassment.
Well, did that start over this $10?
Yes.
Well, your wife says no.
I'm
You
sorry.
say yes.
No, it started before. This started 12 years ago.
Okay, I'm just talking about this $10 check. So you made some phone calls from the house, Ms. Toder, is that right?
Yeah, it was a few phone calls.
Well, what
And
did
it
you
was
say?
not-
Shh,
I'm
listen
sorry,
to me.
it was not in the middle of the night. It was after I came back from the job. It was after 5 p.m.
What did you say during these 3?
I told them that they're not decent people and they're teaching my son to be a thief.
Okay, that takes 1 phone call. What was the next phone call?
Same thing.
And the next one?
Same thing.
Well, that's harassment.
But it was the one case.
Just a second. I'm not finished with you. Then you went to work. And you called them again from work. Is that right?
Yeah.
How many times did you call them from work?
6 times in 2 days.
And what did you say to them in the 6 times you called them?
Probably the same thing. I was probably very upset
And
over the whole thing.
then Mrs. Ferrier, you called her boss.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said what to her boss?
I called her boss and I said that we were getting a lot of phone calls and I wanted him to talk to her.
About stopping calling during the day?
Yes, and he had no interest in any of it until he found out that they were coming from work.
Well, she admits now that they were coming from work.
So,
So that's what you told her, that you were getting these harassing phone calls and they were coming during work hours.
Right.
That's what your lawsuit is about, Ms. Toder. You say that she made slanderous remarks against you to your boss, which caused you all kinds of trouble and aggravation and emotional distress. So tell me what kind of aggravation and emotional distress was
Can I
caused to
say
you.
something, Your Honor? She told them I made 100 phone calls from the job like 2 years ago.
I'm
2 years
talking
ago,
about,
they didn't
I'm
even
talking
have
about $10.69. I asked you a question. What kind of emotional distress do you believe that you suffered that they should compensate you for?
Okay, first of all, they took me to a drug test.
So, what does that have to do with her?
Because she doesn't know me. We never spoke to each other.
Listen to me. What does that have to do with her if you went for a drug test?
That's what she told them, that I was doing drugs.
Did you tell them that she was doing drugs? What proof do you have that Miss Ferrier told them that you were using drugs?
Allegation number 4.
This doesn't say that Mr. or Mrs. Ferrier say that you continue to use marijuana, alcohol to an excess and abuse prescription drugs. It doesn't say that they said this about you. This says that they complained about harassing phone calls. And then another paragraph says it is further alleged that you are continuing to use marijuana, alcohol to excess, and abuse prescription drugs. Did you tell them that?
No,
The
I did not.
investigator told me that they did.
Well, I don't know. That's hearsay. Did you ever use marijuana?
No.
Did you ever use alcohol?
I drink alcohol, but I don't abuse it.
Well, Maybe. And what about prescription drugs? What drugs do you take?
I used to take Xanax.
And what else do you take?
I got something new after this attack started. I'm not sure the name of it.
You're not sure of the kind of drug you take?
No.
That's interesting.
I can't pronounce it.
Why are you laughing?
Just because Your Honor, I can't understand anybody that could take a prescription and not know the name of it.
Try to behave yourself.
Okay, Your Honor.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The rambling is of somebody who is using or overusing prescription drugs. It says that she's afraid that you're going to be abusive, but please take her son because she can't take care of him because he's out of control and she's going on her honeymoon.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shoshana Toder says ex-husband William Ferrier and his wife Kathy made false allegations to her employer. The Ferriers claim she harassed them over the phone.
Okay. And as a result of whatever allegations these were, mostly use of the telephone, what happened?
I was just upset, Your Honor.
Well, then you shouldn't have done what you did, madam.
I understand it. But
so then why are you here in court?
In the heat of the moment, because I had expenses.
Well, what does that have to do with court? You made a mistake. You made a mistake by calling, at least according to you, 9 times, all complaining because they cashed a $10.69 check that they received that was made out to your son, who I assume you support. Is that right?
No.
Well, if you don't support him, then why would you complain anyway if they cashed a $10.69?
I'm not supposed to support him yet.
Listen to me. You are a parent. You're supposed to support him. He's not in your custody.
I understand.
If he's not in your custody, then you're supposed to support him. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you're off the hook. If you were a man standing over here and saying, I'm not supposed to support him yet, what does that mean? You're the parent. Did you pay support when the child lived with her?
Yes.
How much?
He's a deadbeat, by the way.
How much?
$500 a month, Your Honor, the maximum amount. She asked for $1,100, and the judge told her no.
I don't ask. Did I ask you to editorialize for me, sir?
No, you didn't.
Good. So, and you pay, I don't care how much you paid. If you didn't pay $500, you paid $300, you paid $300, you paid $200. You pay nothing. So if you pay nothing, and if you're just angry that your son went to live with his father.
No, I'm really not angry, Your Honor.
Then you shouldn't have been angry over a $10.69 check.
Your Honor, I'm not angry about him because I know my ex-husband wanted it, and my son came to me and told me, Mom, I was with you for 11 years, now I want to be with Dad. So I said, okay. I was going to fight for him, but when he told me that, I said, okay, go to your dad and be happy. But she's not happy about that. She doesn't want to raise a 7th kid.
Listen to me, madam. I don't know why you came to court. You did the wrong thing, causing you to have expenses, then you have to pay for them. If you wanted to call up and speak to your ex-husband once and say, listen, I understand that you got this check for $10.69. That check really belonged to me because I paid...
I can't communicate with him, Your Honor.
Hey, I'm speaking to you. You called 9 times. You were harassing them. I said if you called once and said it, that was one thing. That's not what you told me.
He hung up on me. I can't talk to him. Ever since they got married.
Then that means he didn't want to talk to you.
Well, that doesn't help my kid.
Then write him a letter. What good does it do to you for you to harass him on the telephone?
That was not meant as harassment.
Well, I'm telling you, it's harassment. So you have no case. Now, let's turn to you.
Your Honor, what I've gone through, I have had more temporary restraining orders filed by Mrs. Toder, or Miss Toder, my former ex-wife, or my ex-wife. And she has taken me to court, and when we were in front of the judge in Las Vegas, she didn't show up for the temporary restraining order. Twice she didn't. Or no, the first time she showed up...
This is the restraining orders that she took out against you.
She's using the court as a form of harassment, and she's been doing it to me for a long time.
Speak.
What happened is when she took me in front of the judge said, well, do you want to continue? Do you feel he's...
Hearsay. What the judge said to you was hearsay unless you have a document from the court.
I do.
Let me see.
I have a document.
Good. Let me see it.
Not for the first one. I have one for the second one that she never showed up for. okay? And she said she was on her honeymoon. And that's what I'm talking about. Here she even writes, is this it here? She writes in here that I'm going to be on my honeymoon, so I can't even make it to the court hearing. I believe it's this one here.
So what do you want me to do?
Well, I'm just saying, this is what I'd like her to be able to stop using the court as a form of harassment, because she's had me in court so many times, and I always feel like I'm the defendant and that I have to defend myself.
Well, you are the defendant now, sir.
Of courts. I didn't even want to be here today, even though you're a fine person, but this is not where I want to spend my time in court.
I absolutely got it. Was she granted a temporary restraining order as a result of this application?
No, Your Honor, she wasn't.
She was not.
She was denied.
Of course she was. Of course she was, because there is no basis for it in her application. There's no basis for her to get a temporary restraining order based upon what she alleges here. It's the ramblings of somebody who is using or overusing prescription drugs. Go ahead.
Your Honor, that's what I'm saying, that she's using the court as a form of harassment.
Okay, there is absolutely no basis for her to get an order of protection based upon what she writes in here. It's a lot of garbage. It says that she's afraid that you're going to be abusive, but she wants you to take her son because she can't take care of him because he's out of control, and she's going on her honeymoon.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, he's doing very well in school now.
Tell me what you want.
We want the court, her not to be able to use the court to drag me through.
Mr. Ferrier, all too often people abuse the system, and they take time away from cases that need court time because they got their own personal shtick that they want to take care of. Now, your ex-wife came here to court, and if it wasn't this court, it would have been someplace else, because she was complaining that she had expenses and embarrassment as a result of your wife calling her boss. She caused the problem. She harassed you. She called time after time after time to complain about the cashing of this $10.69 check. By the way, what did you do with that money? Did you have it?
My son kept the money, and he even called her and offered to do chores for her to pay her back, and she said, no, I want your father to pay it back. And I said, no, I'm not paying it back.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead. Shh, go ahead.
Okay, on May 14, I had a chat with him for the first time in a year. And all I want is really to communicate with him, you know, regarding our son. But ever since he got married, I don't feel that I can. He either hangs up on me, she hangs up on me, or whatever. And I asked him about contacting my job, and I said, Sean, why did you contact my job? And he said to me, I had nothing to do with it. And I said, Sean, your name is on it. And he said, I had to keep my wife happy. I think that's a lame excuse to keep the wife happy, so.
You did the wrong thing. Stop blaming everybody else. You had no right to call their home 3 times. I guarantee it was a lot more. You have the tape?
We have tapes of what she said, Your Honor.
Well, let me hear them. Let me hear them.
I'm not denying it, that I made these phone calls.
They're a little nastier than what you said.
You're nasty, Sean.
I don't slander.
I can't hear it. Can you bring it up here, please?
He's very cute.
I never denied I made these phone calls.
Well, they get real nice.
Could you please be quiet?
Yes, Your Honor.
How low can you get, John? How much lower? I want to see how much lower can you get to us. Yeah, this message. Sean, you know that was very indecent of you. Shay should have signed over the check to me. I'm the one who takes the bill, okay? But that's okay, because all your letters that you get from credit companies, I spread them. So the penalty is going every year. You want to be with me? I'll be with you. And this message. Indecent of you. Shane should have signed over the check to me. I'm the one who paid the bill, okay? But that's okay, because all your letters that you get from credit companies, I spread them. So the
That's a repeat.
I think that's a repeat.
That's a repeat. Okay.
I never denied I made this phone call.
I want to tell you something. You just acknowledged on that tape a federal crime. Do you understand that? If you're getting mail of his from credit card companies and shredding it, that's a federal crime. That's
I'm not doing.
I'm speaking to you.
I'm not getting his mail.
I'm speaking to you. That's what you said you did on the tape.
Wanted to put him off. I don't get his mail.
You got it, madam. That's what you wanted to do. And you succeeded. And so stop standing here complaining and abusing the courts again. Your case is dismissed. And all I can tell you is I'm not going to be able to stop her from filing these frivolous claims. It's going to have to be a judge in your jurisdiction that has some chutzpah. All right? You thought I was going to say it, didn't you? Who's going to say to her, you come in 9 o'clock in the morning, you wait until 5 o'clock till the end of my calendar every time you want to file a petition. You come in, you explain to me what you want to file, you explain to me why, and I'll see if I'm going to give you permission to file that case. Until you get a judge that's going to be able to say that she's going to continue to abuse the system. But I find it offensive when someone abuses the system, they abuse me, because they're abusing the other people. When she came in and filed this piece of garbage that took time away from a clerk to fill out papers, her papers, other people were waiting. They had to wait an extra hour or two because she was filing this piece of trash. And then it took time from a judge to hear it.
He told me to buy a life vest. I mean,
I'm telling you to, and I'm telling you better. I'm telling you to get a life. Your case is dismissed. So's your counterclaim. I've given you my best advice. Goodbye.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Turner versus Montoya. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Turner, you look very angry, sir.
Yes, I am.
Life is short, Mr. Turner. This gentleman here is your daughter's ex-boyfriend. This is your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Beautiful girl. How old are you?
21.
How long were you and Miss Turner dating?
Approximately 4 years.
And how old are you, Mr. Montoya?
26.
And during the 4 or so years that you were dating Miss Turner, I assume that you did not have a positive relationship with her father.
Not at all. Since the beginning, he never gave me a chance.
How many daughters do you have, Mr. Turner?
I have 2. I have a 13-year-old also.
Nobody's ever good enough for your daughter, right?
That's correct.
I got it. Because your lawsuit really is pretty silly. When I read it.
I agree.
When I read it and I saw you and I saw your daughter, I said, this lawsuit is more than just about a cell phone that you say that Mr. Montoya stole that you had given to your daughter, because this is what this lawsuit is about. Your claim is that he had a fight with your daughter, which was really, according to you, pretty serious. You know, he ripped her dress, according to you. He rammed into her car, according to you. He stole a cell phone. He attacked her at home. All of those bad things. And all I'm hearing is your lawsuit is for $265.49 because you claim that he stole a cell phone that you had given your daughter.
Yes, he...
Okay. So now I want you to tell me why you're suing this man for $265 for a cell phone. First, when did you give your daughter the cell phone?
Well, it was my phone. I gave it to her that evening when she was going to go to a modeling shooting.
But it was your phone?
Yes.
Your number, it was regularly in your possession. You just lent it to her that night.
Exactly.
Oh, I see. And you don't exactly know what happened that evening because you weren't there.
No.
But your daughter was?
Yes.
What night did you have the last fight with your boyfriend?
It was around the end of July. I don't remember the exact date.
Do you know Mr. Turner?
It was the 27th.
Tell me what happened.
We got into a big argument because I wanted to go to a modeling convention and he wanted to go, but I didn't want him to go.
He didn't want to go?
No, I didn't want him.
You wanted to go to a modeling convention?
Yeah, and he wanted to go, but I didn't want him to go.
Oh, he wanted to go with you?
Yeah.
He's worried. Right?
Was.
You were worried at that time?
Yes, Your Honor, I was.
So you like to sort of keep an eye on your girl?
She's a pretty girl. I want to keep an eye on her.
Right. Bird, do me a favor. Would you just change position over there and step in between these two people? I would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so he wanted to go with you. You said, stay home, and you got into an argument.
Correct.
Go ahead.
So he said he'll make sure I won't go, so that's when he ripped my dress. But he just ripped like a long slit in it where it'll show my underwear, so I couldn't wear the dress. But
did you do that?
Yeah, I admit to that. That's true.
So I changed outfits, and I still decided to go.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes.
How long had you been living together?
We lived together for a year.
For how long didn't your father approve of this arrangement? Long time?
He didn't mind that we were living together, just towards the end when a lot of arguments and things were going on. Him and Mr. Montoya were friends at one point.
But not recently?
Correct.
So what happened next?
So I went to the service station and he was there, and while I was pumping gas, he took my dad's cell phone and I asked Montoya to return it to me, and he just got in the car and left.
Totally untrue.
What did you do?
I didn't even see her at any gas station. And I have one comment to make. They said that this occurred on the 27th, I believe, her or her dad just said. I have a written statement that she wrote right here which says that it occurred on August 3rd.
Let me see.
All these allegations are totally unfalse.
Are totally unfalse?
Totally untrue, I mean, sorry. Mr. Turner has a restraining order against me. And basically, ever since he received this restraining order against me, he's been doing everything possible to try to get me thrown in jail.
You have a child together?
Yes.
Yes.
How old is your child?
He's 2.
Who is he living with now?
He's living with me.
And who are you living with?
My father.
Now, sir, did she call the police when you ripped her dress?
No.
She could have.
She could have.
Right? Because that's a violent act.
Okay,
right?
but...
Right? It's a violent act. She could have,
true.
and she didn't. Why do you think she would lie to me and tell me that you came to the gas station and you took her cell phone?
Because she lives with her dad, and basically what he says goes. She told me that she's going to say whatever her dad says to say because he'll kick her out the home. And he has a restraining order against me when we got into a physical fight. Ever since then, she told me also that he said, well, be careful because my dad feels that you got the best of him, so therefore he's doing anything to get you thrown in jail. He called and said I followed him to the airport. He called and said I followed him to work. He said I flattened his tires. He's just been making all these false statements to get me thrown in jail.
Do you have, Mr. Montoya, a bad temper?
No, I do not.
Well, you have to have a bad temper if you ripped her clothes.
I didn't want to put our business out there, but that day, she was basically punching me in my face, scratching me, kicking me.
Why?
And all I did was rip their dress.
Why was she doing that to you?
I think I held myself pretty good.
Why was she doing that to you? Why was she assaulting you?
She was upset between all the things me and her dad had been going through. Because we got into a fight. All this happened before that. And I was in the process of moving, just my things were there, so I would come back occasionally.
Oh, so you were moving out of the residence?
Yes, I was.
I see. So you were not getting along to begin with. Now, you were not getting along, you're in the process of moving out, but you come home to pick up some of your stuff, and you find that she's going to some modeling class or something. And according to you, you want to go with her. What business was it of yours that she wanted to go someplace that day, that you wanted to be her chaperone?
You're right, that's none of my business, but we're here on a cell phone. We're not here on her dress being ripped.
We hear about what happened that day, sir, and what happened that day and all the surrounding circumstances, because you're not going to say to me, yes, Judge, you're absolutely right, I took the cell phone. You say, I didn't take the cell phone. She says you did take the cell phone. So I have to make a determination, Mr. Montoya, as to whether or not all of the circumstances of that day point to the fact that you did, in fact, take the phone.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You rip her dress, she goes inside, she changes her dress, walks out of the house, leaving you standing there. And what you're telling me is, well, you just said, okay, I guess she wants to go all by herself and she doesn't want to go with me.
And later today,
I had a sick feeling in my gut that he was cheating on me. I suffer from PMS and I maybe overreacted.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eugene Turner says his daughter's ex-boyfriend, Ron Montoya, stole his cell phone. Ron says Eugene has never liked him.
Now, I have to make a judgment. And my judgment has to be, which of the two of you is telling the most cogent story? Which of the two of you is telling the story that makes the most common sense? And when I said to you, why would she not complain about, or not complain to the police, at least, about you ripping her dress or you coming and making a scene at the gas station? But she does say, I want the cell phone back. I just don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. I just want the cell phone back. As opposed to the story that you're telling me You said, I want to go with you to the modeling class or to the modeling course or whatever it was, and she says, no, you're not going. You have an argument. You rip her dress. She goes inside. She changes her dress, walks out of the house anyway, leaving you standing there. And what you're telling me is, well, you just said, okay, I guess she wants to go all by herself and she doesn't want to go with me. That's what you want me to believe?
Yes,
well, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
We have a police report too, Your Honor.
Let me see it.
Does he even have proof that he has a cell phone? Does he have a cell phone bill or anything of that nature?
Yes, I do.
Shh. Just, you don't have to answer him. I'm the one who marshals the evidence.
I still need to go over there?
I would if I were you.
Okay.
So this is the report you made to the police, sir. I want you to listen. Maybe this will jog your memory. How do you pronounce your first name?
Shainique.
Shainique told me that Ron, I assume that's you, followed her to the Arco gas station located in the area of Heacock and Postal. She drove into the gas station, and when she got out to pay for the gas, Ron jumped into her car. He grabbed her father's cell phone. Ron began checking the phone's history to determine what calls she had received. Stop smirking, sir. She told him to get out of the car. Ron maintained possession of the cell phone, got out of the car and ran towards his car, which was parked nearby in the same parking lot. Shainique followed Ron on foot in an attempt to retrieve her father's cell phone. He refused to give her the phone. She went to call on a nearby payphone. As she dialed 911, she told Ron that she was calling the police. He took the phone from her and hung up. She tried dialing again, and again he took the phone from her and hung up. Any of that sound familiar?
None of it rings a bell.
None of it rings a bell. Okay. At that time, Mr. Attorney, the police were told that the value of your cell phone was $100.
Yes, but when I went into T-Mobile to get the exact replaced value, they gave me a receipt and it was $219.
Let me see. Okay. Mr. Matoya, now I know that you're going to leave here thinking that I've been very unfair to you, that there was no proof, as you say, that you stole the telephone. It's my job to determine who is telling the truth and who is fibbing. And based upon common sense and based upon what I've seen in the police report, I determined that you're the fibber. So you have to pay him $215. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. May step out. I'm back into you, right, please.
Apparently, Mr. Matoya is a compulsive liar.
Everything's untrue, and it's just total lies.
I clapped my daughters through with the bomb.
I got the best of him in the fight, physical fight that he started, so it's all revenge.
I'm just happy with the decision, and she can see that Ron's a liar.
You live and you learn. That's life.
We just stay positive and keep in a positive direction.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Fogg versus Hanson, step forward, please.
John Fogg is suing his ex-roommate, Carol Hanson, for the return of his belongings and stolen money. Carol claims they were boyfriend and girlfriend, and John cheated.
Mr. Fogg, I gather that you moved into the defendant's home when you lost your prior residence. And according to Miss Hanson, you had a sort of a relationship. She wakes up one morning and finds you not home. She got very angry. She took all your stuff and she brought it to a friend's house, according to you, and you did that about 4:30 in the morning?
Approximately.
So tell me, what day were you unceremoniously evicted from Miss Hanson's home?
August 22nd.
How long had you been there?
3 months, approximately, Your Honor.
Were you a tenant? Were you paying rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have your own room?
Yes.
And where were you on August 22nd?
I was with my daughter.
Decided to spend the night at your daughter's house?
No, I didn't stay there. I went to the gun club and stayed there. They have a pool table and...
Why?
They belonged to the gun club. I didn't want to go home because she had wrote me a letter. On the 21st, she wrote me a letter that she loved me. And that left me a little apprehensive because she prefers women over men. And I didn't want to be involved in that situation.
Go ahead.
The letter came in on the 21st. On the 22nd, I got a cell phone at 4:50 when I answered it. At 4:50 in the morning, my things were thrown out. And also...
Just a second. The cell phone message was that your things were on the lawn?
They were on the porch at my friend's house.
You were taking them over to a friend of his?
Yes, I packed his belongings.
very neatly in bags.
Why did you do that?
Because he is a neat freak.
I'm asking, I know why you might do it, that he's a neat freak, but if you were angry because according to your answer, you thought he was cheating on you.
Yes.
So if you were angry, how neatly did you pack up his stuff?
I did pack them neatly. I didn't roll them in balls or anything like that. I had a sick feeling in my gut that he was cheating on me, a feeling that I felt in the past when ex-boyfriends have cheated on me. He didn't come home all night, did not call.
Why didn't you just wait for him to come home and tell him to move?
Because I was afraid that he would charm his way back in, and I was afraid of risking disease.
Disease from what?
Diseases from sexually transmitted diseases.
Well, there's one way to avoid that.
Well, we didn't use condoms in the past.
I don't want to get so personal, Miss Hanson. I just want to explain to you that all you have to do is wait for him to come home, tell him to get his things out of the house. You don't have to have sex with him in order to tell him to do that. But you don't pack up his things in the middle of the night and go and put them on somebody's porch.
In my defense, I suffer from PMS and I maybe overreacted.
Fine. What items do you claim are missing, Mr. Fogg?
Several pairs of cufflinks, which I have pictures of. 2 rings that were in my suit jacket. The OxyContin.
What were your rings doing in a suit jacket?
Because when I left the other premises, I had to take, it wasn't uncommon for me to put 2 rings in the suit jacket. I had pills, suit jacket, $500. Apparently what I'm thinking is when she moved the clothing, she must have heard the pills inside, and she went through that. The love letter was in there also, and it's all gone.
You said there was cash missing. Where was the cash?
It was in the pocket, because she always would go through my drawers. The drawers that I had, I would put pieces of candy wrappers in, okay? And every time I come home, the candy wrappers weren't there. So she was always in the drawers, so what I did was I went to the closet and had one inside the hinge. Those were never removed, so I put everything in there. Now, on the other hand, when I went to the police station, which I have reports here, on the 31st, because I was in enough trouble, I didn't want to have any problems with the police.
What do you mean you were in enough trouble?
Well, prior restraining order.
Against you?
Yes.
What did she say you did?
She claims that I pulled her hair in July, and she went to court 9803 saying I pulled her hair in July.
Did you pull her hair in July?
No.
Did you do it in June?
No, I never pulled her hair. If you read the report, it's a joke.
The report, please. Oh, yeah, I thought this was going to be easy. How much after you got this message on August 22nd that your stuff was being tossed did you respond to the location, Mr. Fogg?
I did the next day.
So, of course, it's possible that someone else took your property.
Well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
It's possible that
It's
somebody
possible.
else took your property. Isn't that right, Ms.
Yes.
Hanson? Well, after you threw it out.
Yes.
That's possible. You're still responsible. Whether you took it, Ms. Hanson, or whether somebody else took it, you're responsible.
Well, 10 days later, he showed up with a police officer, which the officer told him that he would not be charging me and he could just fill out a missing items report.
Of course he was not going to charge you. He's not charging you with necessarily stealing it because there's not enough proof to establish that you stole these items, and I don't think that you probably did steal the items.
I did.
You may have, but I don't
didn't.
think you did. Certainly he can't prove that you did. However, he's a paying tenant. You cannot take his stuff and throw it out. And if you do, and if some of his items become missing or stolen by somebody else, you, Ms. Hanson, are responsible because the law says you may not do what you did. The law does not recognize PMS as an excuse for bad behavior. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's
Thank you, Your Honor.